Hollywood's new century. Hey, fanfic family. So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction. So don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 176. Simon wakes up with Blake Lively in his arms as the morning sun shines through the window of his Four Seasons hotel suite in New York, rubbing his sleepy eyes. Seeing the long-lost sunshine, he said in a relaxed mood, "New York is a good day today, yeah, but it still feels a little cold outside," Blake Lively said, brushing his long hair around his ear. Blake Lively and Jennifer Smith filmed the second season of Gossip Girl in New York, and New York's Upper East Side was an important location. "Do you have something important to do today?" Blake Lively said, sitting up. "Yes, go to Hearst Group to talk about cooperation." Simon had received a message from Amanda Hearst last night, and was going to Hearst Group today to meet one of the heirs of Hearst Group in Hearst, Amanda Hearst's mother, of course. Lydia Hearst's mother is also one of the heirs. Anne Hearst's sister. The Hearst Group headquarters is the first LEED Gold-rated green office building in New York. It is a 182-meter-high, 46-story building located at the junction of West 57th Street and 8th Avenue in Manhattan, New York. Simon came to Anne Hearst's office in this building at 10 o'clock in the morning. The Hearst Group is not a listed company. As a comprehensive media group, it is indeed not easy to inherit these years' Hollywood genius. "Simon, you are really young?" Anne Hearst and Simon sat on the sofa. The Hearst Group also has a lot of investment in film and television, radio stations, TV stations, cable news, online media, etc. In fact, the entertainment industry and the media industry are also indistinguishable, Simon said while drinking coffee. "After all, now all are diversified operations to form an industrial chain. I heard from Amanda that Zinghe Entertainment is going to strengthen the cooperative relationship with Hearst. I am very optimistic. At present, I am mainly responsible for the publishing and advertising business of newspapers, magazines and other media. We do have a basis for cooperation, Anne Hearst of course. I have studied Zinghe Entertainment, a rising star in Hollywood. Movies and TV all need to be advertised in newspapers, magazines and TV stations, and it is a big business indeed. I think our company's marketing department has already contacted Hearst," Simon said, looking at Anne Hearst and asking, "I wonder what Ms. Hearst thinks about the decline in traditional media sales now." "There are only 2 points, to speed up the transformation of digital media and to publish more attractive news," Anne Hearst responded, "but this is not easy. The transformation of digital media requires traditional editors and reporters to adapt to new media, but new media does not need so many personnel. And it is difficult for many experienced reporters and editors to quickly adapt to internet news. Layoffs and training of new personnel are all difficult problems. Accurate, independent, and fast news events are indeed the best antidote." Simon certainly knows the difficulties faced by traditional media transforming into digital media. It takes time, and the content of the report is important. Simon, Hearst has been in the newspaper industry since the 19th century. In the 20th century, you know the energy of Hearst's newspaper industry, and we still have a lot of resources in the press. Anne Hearst felt that Simon thought now Hearst does not pay attention to newspapers and focuses on fashion magazines and other aspects. Simon smiled. Hearst Group can no longer be said to be a newspaper group. A business information consulting company. In 2006, it also acquired 20% of the shares of Fitch Group, one of the world's 3 major rating agencies, and joined SU0026P. Moody is tied for the 3 major rating agencies in terms of cable TV. The most powerful cable TV station, of course, is the 20% stake in ESPN, the world's largest sports cable news station. Did Hearst's newspapers dare to report on the drugged sexual assault scandal of TV personality Bill Beers? Simon laughed up. Simon, how can you pay attention to a TV comedy star, or someone in their 70s? And Hearst was also confused. The Women's Rights Club in Hollywood was entrusted by the victim to do justice for her, and Bill Corbis also has a lot of previous convictions. Under the circumstances of media reports and public opinion, more and more newspapers and media will follow suit. There will be other victims who will come forward and accuse, Simon said casually, and the reasons on the surface were very good anyway. It's good for Hearst's newspaper brand awareness, of course, and Hearst's newspapers, of course, would have to deal with the pressure on Bill Corbis themselves. He is also very popular in the United States. If you want to report, you need to have some investigative reports. Ann Hurst felt that it was not a big deal. In the future, as long as Zinghe Entertainment's advertisements are cast, no matter what purpose he has, this kindness can help aid Bill Cosby. Indeed, has little influence on Hearst's newspaper group. Don't worry, the Women's Rights Club has arrangements. You can do your best to report the incident. Simon didn't care much about this matter, anyway, just make the film and television circle a little messy as for what kind of results it will lead to at that time, and whether it will lead to other scandals, it is not Simon's concern, as long as the public opinion is given event-happy cooperation. Simon: I hope we will have more opportunities for cooperation in film and television fashion in the future. Ann Hurst was only in charge of receiving. Simon: As for the specific cooperation details, of course, the staff under the two companies to be specifically implemented. Bill Cosby's life that could have been dashing for more than 10 years was disrupted by Simon Pike after Simon left the Hearst building. He also prayed silently for Bill Cosby. After all, this guy should be sentenced to prison in 2018, when he was in his 80s. However, Simon seems to be a little worried that the circulation of Hearst Group's newspapers is not large enough. Compared with the New York Times, Washington Post and Wall Street Journal, the circulation of more than 1 million cannot be compared. Hearst, the San Francisco Chronicle, which has the largest circulation, currently only has more than 330,000 copies. Fortunately, it's just a Bill Cosby, and now it's the time of the presidential election, and the Republican support for the entertainment industry of this kind of Democratic Party will also fall to the ground this year. It must be lively, Simon said to himself, looking at the bright sunshine. Chapter 177: Lighting Entertainment. At the end of March, Hearst's Philadelphia Chronicle took the lead in reporting in detail the sexual assault of a famous veteran black comedy star in the United States, and then sparked a lot of discussion. Subsequently, the San Francisco Chronicle and many tabloids also began to reprint it. Soon, many newspapers under News Corporation also reprinted, including the heavyweight Wall Street Journal also reprinted those news and gimmicks, and then reporters from various newspapers began to dig deeper, and more women came forward to accuse, and there were incidents that happened more than 30 years ago in the office of Star Records. Simon put down the Boston Globe in his hand, which is the accusation of another victim, the supermodel Janice Dickinson in the 1970s, the first to fourth seasons of America's Next Top Model. The judges left the jury seat in 2007. More than 30 women have complained about being abused by Bill Cosby, Simon said, leaning back in his chair. Many accusations are unsubstantiated. The most evidence is the two cases in 2004 and this year. Let's look at the judge's verdict, Sonia Roman said and shook her head. Born as an agent, there is nothing strange about this kind of thing. In the name of Zinghe Entertainment, donate $2 million to the Hollywood Women's Rights Club as the operating expenses to support them in maintaining their power. Are you the vice president now? Simon said again. Yes, one of the vice chairmen. Sonia Roman nodded. The Hollywood Women's Rights Club is indeed influential because of its relationship with Simon. After all, many big-name female stars have joined. Why? The answer is obvious. Pay attention to the situation in the Hollywood film circle. Some things and people can't be touched now. The energy of those white old men is still very strong now. Simon, who is behind the scenes, must not be able to hide some people, but as long as Hollywood doesn't move, the cakes are all okay. I understand. Many people in the club understand that the overall image of Hollywood needs to be maintained. If there are scandals involving people with great influence, it will affect the image of Hollywood and the film market will suffer, Sony said. Of course Roman knew, and then asked again, what about some minor characters? Small roles are fine. At this time, relying on this kind of news to be published in newspapers is also an opportunity to be famous. Hollywood has a lot of it every year, and this year is an election year. It's normal to have more and more seriousness. You should know your balance. Simon said, then thought about it and reminded, people of color can let go, especially black stars. Understood. Of course Sonia Roman understood the meaning. The important candidate of the Democratic Party is a black person. Now there are more scandals about black stars, and the Republican Party is behind it. News Corporation is a staunch Republican supporter. Without him, because Rupert Murdoch supports the Republican Party. By the way, what about the candidates I can support? Sonia Roman asked again. Isn't it in vain? Continue to support. We support racial equality, and the political donations to can also be increased. Simon smiled, This kind of thing can affect the presidential election. A joke, okay? Sonia Roman responded quickly, although she didn't know why Simon would do this now, but now Hollywood is really paying too much attention to Xinghe Entertainment. It's time to cool down. It's been 2 months since Adele's album was released, and the results are better than Taylor Swift's first album. Not bad. Simon himself likes to listen to Adele's songs the most yet, but Taylor Swift was nominated for Best New Artist at this year's Grammy Awards, and she didn't end up winning, but it's pretty good, Sonia Swift said of Star Records. Roman has more and more trust in Simon's vision, and 2 singers have already succeeded. Katy Perry and Iggy will also release albums in the middle and end of this year. I'm really looking forward to it. Well, you just need to pay attention to this aspect. In the next few days, I will be busy, Simon said and stood up. Negotiations with Bruce Ratner have already begun. Simon needs to focus on it. It's the 9-headed bird fund, and the stock price of Liang Fang is getting lower and lower. By the way, Simon has another good news for me to tell you. Sonia Roman laughed suddenly. Well, what good news? Simon asked suspiciously. Illumination Entertainment. Chris Mellardinder has already agreed to our acquisition, and Illumination Entertainment is already our animated feature film production label. Sonia Roman knew that Simon valued Chris Mellardinder. It must be good news to benefit this person, huh? It's really good. Tell him that Lighting Entertainment has the full support of Xinghe Entertainment, and he doesn't have to worry about the budget for the production and distribution of the animated feature film. The yellow people have all been brought out by themselves. He does have plans to make an animated feature film at the moment, but the budget is also much lower than the production budgets of other Pixar, DreamWorks Animation and Blue Sky Studios. Sonia continued, don't worry, support his animated feature film production, which is one of the conditions of the acquisition. Nini knows how to do it, and now Chris Mellardinder is fully developing his new project, as the debut animation of Illumination Entertainment feature film. Simon certainly knows, it must be the animation Despicable Me. Illumination Entertainment. Chris Mellardinder is also a talent. NBC Universal. It's been cut by himself. By the way, Universal seems to have restarted the Fast and Furious series, brought Vin Diesel back, and became a producer? Simon asked suddenly. The filming is about to start. Universal had the idea of shooting the 4th film very early, but the word of mouth and box office of the 3rd Tokyo Drift did not meet expectations. Sonia Roman knows that such a series of movies in the Big Six is definitely something to pay attention to. Why did Simon ask about this so suddenly? Now Universal Pictures can step up the marketing of The Incredible Hulk, with a production budget of $150 million, which is not low. Well, I suddenly remembered that I had seen it in the newspaper. Universal Pictures has had a hard time in recent years. After the release of The Born 3 last year, the director of the series, Paul Greengrass, did not want to continue, and the actor Matt Damon only wants to work with Paul Greengrass on this series. Simon remembers that NBC Universal will be acquired by the Dorchester Group next year. The film's poor performance, and the financial tsunami, and General Electric to die or not to live. Chapter 178 Name Change. I don't even know what movie you are investing in. There is no splash at all. Simon sat on the sofa in his living room, looking at the box office results of the recently released Summit Entertainment's previously invested movies. Too Bad, Beautiful and Ugly, and Never Back Down were both drawn out of theaters within 2 weeks of their release. The low-budget films developed by Peak Entertainment before are really inferior. No way. It saw Summit Entertainment's plan last year, and there is another Bloom Brothers released in June, which is a relatively large investment before Summit Entertainment, Laura Collins explained. The Mummy heroine Rachel Weisz and the pianist hero Adrian Brody, both of them are Oscar winners for acting. Simon looked at the Bloom Brothers. The main creator, Rachel Weisz, won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, while Adrian Brody was the Oscar winner. However, Simon also found out that the other main character in the film, Mark Ruffalo, is not the future Hulk. Well, director Rian Johnson's 2006 low-budget Chasing was a big hit at the St. Denis Film Festival, and Bloom Brothers was also a crime theme, and he raised $20 million. As for several leading actors joined with low pay, and Summit Entertainment invested $12.5 million in the film and owned the North American copyright of the film, Laura Collins responded truthfully. It seems that the leading actors are more optimistic about this movie. Simon nodded. It must be in the form of sharing accounts. Small budget movies invite big stars, and that's it. Of course, people should be optimistic about your script. Actually, this movie was co-produced by Weinstein Pictures and Final Stage Entertainment, but Weinstein Pictures sold the North American market to Summit Entertainment. Laura Collins thinks this is Weinstein Pictures not optimistic about the value of this movie. Okay, let's wait for the release. It's only 2 months away, Simon said and waved his hand. Anyway, these 3 movies have signed distribution contracts. It doesn't matter now. Simon has only left Catherine Bigelow's The Hurt Locker, which was to be released by Summit Entertainment, and the rest have been stopped. After the release of Bloom Brothers in June, the peak will be changed to Aurora Pictures, as the production and distribution label of Xinghai Entertainment's genre films. Simon said flatly okay. Laura Collins also nodded in response. It's a trivial matter anyway, it's just a label under Xinghai Pictures. The sci-fi film District 9 produced by Peter Jackson has signed a contract with us, with a budget of $30 million, and the schedule is September next year. The Weakness crew has been set up with a budget of $35 million. The schedule is set for November next year, and the crew will start shooting in Brooklyn, New York at the end of the month. Listening to Laura Collins' report, Simon asked, Michael Oher weighs more than 340 pounds. Shouldn't it be hard to find an actor to play him? Oh, the guy the crew found for the lead role was Quentin Aaron, who was the perfect weight for the original, about 380 pounds, and was a black security guard. Laura Collins explained. That's good. Simon nodded and then said, the 2 projects of Twilight City and Fake Marriage have also begun to audition for actors. It seems that the progress is not very fast. Both the male and female protagonists have not yet been decided. Ms. Ann Fletcher, the director of Fake Marriage, has already cooperated with us on 26 Dresses. The heroine candidate, she and the producer both felt that they should find an influential actress. Comedy for the heroine of a romance, Laura Collins said, recalling we were in contact with Julia Roberts, but her pay was too high. For this romantic comedy film, our budget was $40 million, and her agent rejected our offer, and the share model was also different. Didn't talk to us. Julia Roberts, the Oscar-winning actress, and her influence. The budget of $40 million is indeed too low. Simon shook his head with a smile. The romantic comedy is indeed a low-budget movie, but the budget is $40 million. To find such a top star, the conditions for later division are good, and it is not worth it. The budget of Fake Marriage plus $5 million. The heroine went to get in touch with Sandra Bullock. Although she has been immersed for a few years, she still has influence. Simon Pike said of the Fake Marriage, adding $5 million to the budget is the advance payment for the star's remuneration. The sharing model is better to follow the old rules, and use the method of increasing the sharing level. Joke, when the time comes, show me the list of candidates for Twilight. Simon looked at the plan for the movie Twilight, directed by Catherine Hardwicke and written by Melissa Rosenberg and Stephanie Meyer, author of the original novel, Are All Women Mouse, New Moon, Eclipse started in 2005, the 4th one will be published this year. Stephanie Meyer's novels are getting better and better. If we adapt the first one is successful, and you have a franchise, Laura Collins said. It's important for studios to have a profitable franchise. Don't worry, how could Xinghai Pictures not have its own series of movies? Simon of course valued the Twilight series. The actors are almost all newcomers. Anyway, the love of handsome men and beauties, vampires and werewolves, is in one pot, and the production cost of the movie also low, as well as the script. If he comes tonight, Ms. Jacobson believes that the investment in the film is huge and needs to be decided by the boss. In the end, it was the first film produced by Xinghai Pictures. The movie Hachiko has a budget of less than $15 million. Laura Collins reports on all of the company's ongoing or upcoming film projects. Hachiko the Loyal Dog is a remake of RB's old movie. This movie has a great influence on RB. We must pay attention to the RB market. As a literary film, the actor who plays the professor should have good acting skills and highlight warm and touching emotions. North American audiences are not suitable for such delicate emotional expression. The Asian market is the main market, and the European market is supplemented, Simon said. After all, the commercialization of the North American market is too serious, and touching movies are only good in the eyes of film critics. Americans don't like to contribute to the box office of touching movies. Europe is more literary, but in this aspect it is not as good as Asia, especially the market in the Greater China Cultural Circle is the main forces for his coming tonight. I'll take care of it myself, Simon continued, leaning on the sofa. Ms. Jacobson also has this idea. Hachiko can be used as a stepping stone for us to enter the Asian market. After all, the Asian market is now mainly RB, and then China, Laura Collins also echoed. Chapter 179 Aurora Pictures. New York, the office of Xinghe Pictures. Simon Parker and Nina Jacobson are talking in the office. I heard that you are going back to Los Angeles soon, right? Simon laughed. There are a lot of things over there, and you are here in New York, so you can make any decision. But Amy Pascal from Sony Entertainment talked to me on the phone before, whether the project he comes tonight should be the same as 2012. The two companies cooperate. Xinghe Pictures owns the copyright in the North American market, and Sony Columbia Pictures in the overseas market, Nina Jacobson said, looking at Simon Parker. After all, this is a superhero movie with special effects. There are many scenarios, and the investment will not be small. Sony is also optimistic about this. When Warner Brothers rejected this plan before, didn't Sony not take over it? Simon was a little puzzled. After all, the script of He Comes Tonight has been ashes for more than 10 years. This kind of anti-hero setting is still risky. The producers who often work with them think it's good and persuade them to develop, but now the production rights of the film are in our hands. I think we can consider it, Nina Jacobson said with a smile. After all, the budget for this kind of film is still relatively large, and we don't have an overseas distribution network. Cooperating with Sony can reduce a lot of risks. Similarly, it will also make a big profit. Simon smiled. The box office of Superman Hancock is still very high. Sony has specially sent a proposal. You can take a look, Nina Jacobson said, handing Simon a project document sent by Sony. Okay, I'll consider it. For now, I'll focus on the current projects, Simon said as he took over the plan. Nina Jacobson nodded. After all, the company has a lot of projects now, and it also needs to acquire some low-cost independent films for distribution, which requires funds. Okay, Simon, there are quite a few submitted scripts here. These are the ones that the company thinks are okay, so I'll show them to you, Nina Jacobson said and handed Simon a finished script outline. Simon turned it over. Mainly romantic comedies and thriller movies, which are not very invested in The Hangover, an R-rated comedy film by director Todd Phillips and producer Thomas Tull, about three men attending a friend's pre-wedding party after a hangover, looks a bit interesting. Simon was already excited. Bradley Cooper, Zach Galifianakis is starring. Of course, Bradley Cooper is still just a small actor in the TV industry, so the budget of The Hangover is not high, only $35 million. The screenwriter of this film is John Lucas, the screenwriter of the previously released film Four Christmases. After the director Todd Phillips got this idea, he specially approached him to adapt the script. Thomas Tull recommended the script to Here We Are, explained Nina Jacobson. That's right, we can make this comedy movie. We have developed several female comedy movies before, but this time it's okay to switch to men. Of course, Simon can't let this movie miss out. This is a reason to be optimistic about this movie. Then put the sequel on the agenda, and sign a sequel contract with several main creators. Perfect. The $35 million investment should be handed over to Xinghe Films. Although Aurora Films is responsible for various types of films, the budget for this film is a bit big. Nina suggested. Simon shook his head and said with a smile, let's use the label of Aurora Pictures. This movie is an R-rated comedy, with no artistry, and the scale is not small. Since Aurora Pictures is the company's label responsible for genre films, running the film is also good, and as for the investment, $35 million isn't too big. After all, even Demon Pictures, a subsidiary of Miramax Pictures, also produced Sin City, and the budget was $40 million. Well, hopefully it can be successful. As Aurora Pictures' first self-made film, it's a good start, Nina Jacobson said. Horror movies, do you know Wen Ziren? Simon asked. The young Asian-Australian director who created the Chainsaw series. He also directed Dead Silence, released last year. Of course, Nina Jacobson knows this kind of young talent. I'm also very optimistic about his accomplishments in horror films. Pay attention to his project with his screenwriter friend Ray Warner, and have the opportunity to win him over to cooperate with Aurora Films, this Malaysian-Chinese director, who may not be specified in the future. How many more surprises can there be? Simon knows this guy's future hidden series, The Conjuring universe, and also directs Fast and Furious and Aquaman, which is incredible. Okay, I will pay attention. It seems that you also value Aurora Pictures, Simon. Xinghe Kaixing Pictures will release Sunshine Cleaning and Slumdog Millionaire this year. It seems that Aurora Pictures will also be indispensable this year. There will be a movie or two released, Nina smiled, and in this case, Simon will definitely find a movie or two suitable for Aurora Pictures to release this year. Oh, take your time. Fortunately, the current movie budget is not very big. Simon did think so, but then explained with a smile, Nina, don't forget, we already have a movie suitable for Aurora Pictures. You're talking about the upcoming DVD release of Spiritual Ghost Recording, but after the market responds, we will re-edit the theatrical version, conduct trial screenings, participate in various film festivals, and formulate promotional strategies, at least next year to be seen in theaters, Nina Jacobson said quickly. Just thought of the movie Simon was referring to. I understand. My idea is to put Supernatural Ghost Record on next year's Halloween. Isn't that suitable for horror movies? Simon laughed. After all, Lionsgate's Chainsaw series is released every year on Halloween. October is not a popular schedule, and it is indeed suitable for the release of unpopular movies. Supernatural Ghost Records can indeed be scheduled to be released in October next year. Nina also agreed. Of course, the premise is that Supernatural Ghost Recording can pass the DVD market resonated, otherwise the company wouldn't have spent the money to bring it to theaters. Well, let's see the situation. Next year will be the next year for Xinghe Entertainment. We have a lot of projects prepared. Once we open up the situation, Hollywood will tremble, Simon said confidently, looking out the window. Chapter 180. My Nets. Simon leans on the couch on the phone with Bruce Ratner in Anne Hathaway's mansion in the Highlands of Brooklyn, New York. Bruce, it's been so long, how are you thinking? Now the NBA regular season is about to end, and the New Jersey Nets have long lost their hope of entering the playoffs. The Brooklyn Stadium and the Nets can exchange for a big deal. It's a good deal to invest the money into the Forest City Group's Atlantic Plaza project. Simon held the girl's head while talking on the phone with Bruce Ratner. Simon, see you tonight. Let's have a meal together, and we'll have a good talk. The land on Leonard Street in Tribeca, the Brooklyn Coliseum and the Nets. Bruce Ratner said on the phone. Okay. Simon responded with a nasal voice and put down the phone, and the hand that pressed the girl's head began to press it slightly. After a while, Simon let out a long breath, and Anne Hathaway, who was kneeling in front of the sofa, got up and wiped her mouth. What's the matter? What's the good thing? Anne Hathaway sat next to Simon and asked. Simon smiled and said, I spoke with Bruce Ratner on the phone just now. Listening to his tone, it seems that Forest City Group is ready to agree to my acquisition request. Is the team moving to Brooklyn too? Otherwise, the nearby residents will keep protesting, said Anne Hathaway, who was born in Brooklyn and is well aware of these situations. Sure, Simon said, holding the girl in sexy pajamas into his arms, warm and fragrant. Will New Jersey let the team move over? Can Bruce Ratner convince the NBA? Anne Hathaway was still a little disbelieving. Yes, the Brooklyn Stadium is the theme building of the Atlantic Plaza project, and they have plans for 2 and 3 phases. The Forest City Group's plan is to turn that area into a business district in Brooklyn, which has been in preparation for several years. I won't give up. Simon knew that Bruce Ratner was always looking for investor support, but he couldn't let the Russian tycoon get a head start. Anne Hathaway clung to Simon's arms and said with a smile, You seem to be on the phone with Bruce Ratner just now, right? That's right. Simon said, squinting his eyes. After so long, the Nets should have changed hands. I wish you success. I'm also leaving New York for Los Angeles, and the 2 movies Thor and Marriage Fight are about to start shooting. I have to prepare, Anne Hathaway said, twisting her body, leaning on to Simon. I heard that Disney is going to make a live-action version of Alice in Wonderland. Some newspapers said they would invite you to play the White Queen. Simon had actually considered this movie before, but Disney had made Alice in Wonderland a long time ago. The cartoon, although there will be no copyright issues, after all, it is adapted from a fairy tale. However, Simon really has no experience with this kind of fairy tale adaptation, and at least Disney has cartoons to learn from. It seems that I have been in contact with Susan, but I haven't talked about it in detail. Disney is still preparing the script, the director, and the starring are not yet decided. Susan is her agent. Susan White, a friend of Sonia Roman. Anne Hathaway is also not sure. After all, it is just an intention now, and Anne Hathaway herself became famous by virtue of the title of Disney Princess. Disney, since Pixar, the Disney animated series seems to be showing signs of picking up again, Simon said. There is nothing he can do about Disney's strength in the children's market. The Disney Store and Disneyland have indeed been too successful. Didn't Xinghe just acquire an animation studio? It should also have its own animation feature film soon, right? Anne Hathaway said, of course, Lighting Entertainment, there is indeed the idea of making an animated feature film. It is estimated that it will take 2 years. Simon is still very confident in Chris Melodandley. In the afternoon, Simon Pike put Anne Hathaway on a plane from New York to Los Angeles and went to the hotel where he met Bruce Ratner in Lower Manhattan. The Langham Hotel on Leonard Street in Tribeca is not too far from the land that Simon wanted. The Brooklyn Coliseum is the core building of the Atlantic Plaza project. If we sell it to you, we will have nothing left. Bruce Ratner has given in, only hoping to keep 10% of the nets and 40% of the Coliseum of the shares, and Simon was unwilling. Atlantic Pier, nearby commercial office buildings, entertainment districts, future high-end building apartments, etc. After the nets move in, you know how much it will help the nearby economic situation, Simon said, taking a sip of coffee. Then he continued to speak. Bruce, I'm sure I won't just own the nets and don't run the gym. How long will it take for my hundreds of millions of dollars to pay off? Don't talk about the nine-headed bird fund, let's talk about the rate of return of Zinghe Entertainment. You can calculate it yourself. I invest in movies, and I make more money than this. Bruce Ratner sighed helplessly. The current environment is too bad, and no other investors can be found. If Simon withdraws, I don't know how long it will take. Bruce, nets in Brooklyn Coliseum handed over to me. I can guarantee that all funds will be in place in October. The Coliseum can be demolished now. Start construction. $500 million in cash, plus the current team's $100 million in debt. No one is willing to pay this price. Simon stared at Bruce Ratner and said word by word, moreover, in the current situation, Forest City has such a capital injection, right, for your group, it is very beneficial. The two chatted for 4 or 5 hours and finally negotiated the deal. Simon was going to inject funds to start the construction of the Brooklyn Stadium in October. Bruce Ratner sold the New Jersey Nets and the new stadium project completely. Bruce, it's a pleasure to cooperate. I will let the lawyer go to the Forest City Group to sign the contract. Simon happily sent Bruce Ratner out of the hotel door. Okay, we have a good time working together. Bruce Ratner smiled and got into the car. Looking at the van going away, Simon was very excited. At the door, the acquisition of more than $600 million, the Nets, the Brooklyn Stadium, and of course the land on Leonard Street, are all his own. Hi, Simon. A female voice called Simon out of his reverie. Well, it's you. Chapter 181. Nine-headed bird sports. I didn't expect to meet you here, you are so beautiful recently. Ivanka and Simon sat opposite each other in the bar of the Langham Hotel. Fortunately, you also know that the previous writers' strike was a lot of trouble, and our company couldn't carry out projects either, Simon said, looking at Ivanka, the model's figure, and it looked really good. I heard that you and Forest City Group, a large real estate company in New York, are cooperating on the Atlantic Plaza project in Brooklyn. Zinghe Entertainment has also entered the real estate market, and it is still this year? Ivanka found it difficult to understand. After all, the real estate industry is now big. Simon shook his head and said with a smile, it's not Zinghe Entertainment's foray into real estate, it's the Nine-Head Bird Sports and Entertainment Company under the Nine-Head Bird Fund that acquired the New Jersey Nets in Brooklyn's new stadium project. New Jersey Nets? Brooklyn Stadium project, isn't that the core project of Atlantic Plaza? Ivanka's eyes widened. It was no secret that Forest City Group was looking for investors everywhere, but Simon Pike was looking at it an NBA team. It's normal for me to be interested in movies. After all, I'm a part of Hollywood, but I'm also interested in sports. It's also my dream to have my own NBA team. Simon took a sip of wine and continued, now, the dream has come true. Oh, Ivanka smiled and nodded in response. It turns out that, then I congratulate you. Thank you, Simon said, putting down the wine glass in his hand, and asked, why did you appear here? After all, your Manhattan residence is not far from here. Nothing, I took a set of fashion photos in this hotel. You know, I have always had a model career, Ivanka said, shaking her hair. Simon Parker nodded. Ivanka is indeed a signed model of the elite model agency. By the way, I remember the heir of the Kushner Group that you had a good relationship with before. Simon recalled last year that the Kushner Group acquired a building at 666 Fifth Avenue in New York in a leveraged transaction as the headquarters of the Kushner Group building. What a sight. Now what? The high debt instantly became a drag on the group. How did you say, Jared? Ivanka frowned. It's not that she didn't know about Jared Kushner's dedication, but she just met Blake live from Gossip Girl before. Lee, let her tell Simon something, but it went to hell. It's nothing, just asking. After all, I also bought a piece of land on Leonard Street nearby, and I'm going to invest in building a skyscraper as the headquarters of Xinghe Group. Simon smiled. You haven't fallen in love yet? Build a building? Ivanka nodded blankly. Is this the reason for refusing to cooperate with her father? Midtown Manhattan is also very good, but the price is too expensive, and it is more affordable in downtown, Simon said. After all, the World Trade Center and the 9/11 incident was downtown a few days ago. Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, the sovereign wealth fund of the United Arab Emirates, spent $800 million to buy a 75% stake in the famous landmark Chrysler Building in New York from the RB Mitsubishi Consortium. Recently, the sovereign wealth funds of Kuwait and Qatar jointly the Boston real estate company made an offer for the General Motors Building in Manhattan through Goldman Sachs Group, Ivanka said with a smile, and the General Motors Building used to belong to the Trump real estate group Alice. The General Motors Building has an excellent location overlooking Central Park and the Plaza Hotel. It is the Pearl Tower in Manhattan. The rent has always been the leader of Manhattan's commercial rents, but since it is an investor from the Middle East royal family, it's not surprising, Simon smiled. This is more rich than the RB Consortium in the late 1980s, but there are fewer people, and the money only belongs to the royal family of the Emirate. In terms of size, it is far less than the RB economy of that year. The income of the nine-headed bird fund has already exceeded $5 billion. I thought you would be interested in the General Motors Building? Ivanka quipped. It is a top commercial building with an occupancy rate of over 95%. The valuation of the General Motors Building is now no less than $2.5 billion. There are all kinds of big-name fashion stores in it. I like it too. Simon curled his lips and smiled. I don't dare to compete with the oil billionaires in the Middle East. Besides, how much does it cost to build a complex here? The General Motors Building covers a large area, with an area of 1.8 million square feet. It is indeed expensive, but in the future, Tribeca will be the top wealthy area that surpasses the Upper East Side. The appreciation potential is much stronger than there, isn't it? Moreover, Simon remembers that in the next 5 years, the Zhang Xin family of Soho Group acquired a 40% stake in the General Motors Building owned by Middle Eastern investors. At that time, the building was valued at $3.4 billion. Really? Of course Ivanka doesn't believe what Simon said, but she has no confidence in this kind of return on investment. After all, neither Nine Birds Fund nor Xinghe Entertainment are based on real estate development. The New Jersey Nets will move in after the new stadium is built. By then, there will be 2 NBA teams in New York. I really want to see how much turmoil you can make in the sports world in New York. Ivan Card is indeed very interested in Simon Pike, who can be like a duck to water in Hollywood and Wall Street sports in New York. Simon smiled disdainfully. If the Nets are the Knicks, I will disband the team directly. Forget it, don't say it, go dance with me over there, Ivanka said and stood up. Simon nodded helplessly, and was taken to the dance floor by Ivan Kara, with gentle lighting. Beautiful. The two began to slowly waltz on the dance floor. By the way, how much do you know about the modeling circle in New York? Simon asked face to face, holding the girl's waist. Ivanka leaned on Simon's shoulder, shook her head after hearing the question, and replied, I don't know much. I usually take some advertising photos of fashion magazines, and there are not many. As for the modeling agency, there are no requirements for me. My father and the boss of the agency are also friends. Indeed, I should have thought of it a long time ago. Simon smiled. The modeling circle in New York is crazier than the entertainment circle in Hollywood. How can she come into contact with the unspoken rules of the modeling circle? Because of her background. Why are you also interested in the fashion circle? Ivanka felt that the entertainment circle and the fashion circle were very close. Not unusual. It's okay. Anyway, the two circles are similar in many cases. Simon is indeed a little interested in the fashion circle. This is also a huge market. Hollywood has inherent advantages. Chapter 182. The name of the team. In the evening, Simon sent Ivanka home, and the two sat in the business car, chatting one after another on Park Avenue in the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Ivanka's residence is here. After the car was parked outside the villa, Simon smiled. I live in the 84th block of 5th Avenue now, and it doesn't seem to be far from here. It's not far. Then I'll go back, Ivanka said, kissing Simon on the face, and then got out of the car with the bag. Simon smiled slightly, looked at the appearance of the villa. It was indeed different from Chuan Jianguo's taste, and there was no golden glitter. At the end of April, the Nine Heads Sports and Entertainment Company, a subsidiary of Simon Pike's Nine Heads Fund, announced the acquisition of the NBA League team New Jersey Nets and the Brooklyn Stadium project in New York, involving a total amount of more than $600 million. New York. The Olympic Building on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, near Central Park, is the headquarters of the NBA League. Congratulations, Simon, for joining the big family of the NBA. The current NBA commissioner, David Sent, kindly shook hands with Simon. Thank you. I will also contribute my strength to the overall prosperity of the NBA, Simon said and smiled. After all, as a person in the entertainment industry, he is still very popular in the sports world. The Los Angeles Lakers of the Bass family combined sports and entertainment, and their success is obvious to all. David Sintel nodded. The New Jersey Nets, I am afraid it will become the New York Nets soon. The famous nine-headed bird fund can be said to be rich and powerful. When he left NBA headquarters, it was Simon's newly recruited general manager of the Nets, accompanied by Bob Myers, who is only 33 years old this year. What does head coach Lawrence Frank think of this year's rookies? Simon asked the future Warriors president Bob Myers in the car. The team needs to strengthen the inside, just sent Jason Kidd, and it's okay to get a few people back. Vince Carter and Richard Jefferson are also looking for trades, Bob Myers explained. The Nets are going to rebuild. Among the rookies, Derrick Rose, Michael Beasley and O.J. Mayo are all too popular. If you can't get a good one in the lottery, it's hard to get it, Simon said, handing Bayo some other information in his hand. Bob Myers, Kevin Love, the power forward center position, is suitable for us. Russell Westbrook, the guard, these two are goals, and we will wait for the result of the draw. Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson are all trading chips now. The Lakers actually traded Quinn Brown for Pau Gasol of the Grizzlies. The world is crazy, Simon said inside. The winter transfer is really a big deal. It's really unbelievable. Bob Myers also smiled wryly. After all, there are too many inside stories. I'm also more optimistic about Marc Gasol, the Lakers' addition to the Grizzlies. Without Pau Gasol, the Grizzlies definitely need someone who can play. Let's talk. If you have enough chips, Vince Carter or Richard Jefferson can be transferred, Simon said. As for Richard Jefferson's contact with the Bucks, it's none of his business. Kidd has gone to the Mavericks in exchange for the next 2 first-round picks and players such as Devin Harris. Vince Carter and Richard Jefferson can still be replaced. Bob Myers nodded and explained, if we give away Vince Carter and Richard Jefferson, we'll have no stars on our team. Looking at the situation of other teams, is there any player worth trading, such as Pistons guard Chauncey Billups, who seems to have this intention? Simon said with a smile. This kind of practical player is still good, and it is also a global player. Star-level players are not. I don't know if there is any way to get a superstar player over. LeBron James is a player Simon covets. As for the current head coach of the New Jersey Nets, Lawrence Frank, he used to be the team's assistant coach. After becoming the head coach, the team has a trident again, and the previous years were also good. In a situation where the West is strong and the East is weak, the Nets must become strong enough to win the championship. For the Brooklyn Coliseum project, Forest City Group has been negotiating naming rights with Barclays in the United Kingdom. It was paying $400 million over 20 years, but now we need to renegotiate, said Bob Myers, who said the economic situation is not good, and the Brooklyn Coliseum project has also changed owners. I understand that the 1-year $10 million sponsorship fee is the bottom line, and the 20-year contract period needs to support us in building the gym, Simon said, looking at Bob Myers and smiling. If Barclays has other ideas, stop it. Barclays does not do business for ordinary people in the United States, and for them this year, the loss is not big. Simon needs to pay $520 million in cash and $100 million in debt to take over Forest City Group's Nets and Brooklyn Coliseum projects and the Tribeca land. Of course, $320 million of that was for the construction of the Brooklyn Stadium. Simon's real money was only $200 million plus $100 million in debt to get the Nets, the Brooklyn Stadium project, and the Tribeca land. Got it. Bob Myers nodded. The city construction side of the Forest City Group should also remind me that this year, the construction of the stadium must start. In 2010, the Nets will also move to Brooklyn, New York. Simon can't wait to start his own business in New York. The NBA team has a career, and the NBA routine. The game starts at the end of October, so it should be in time. Of course, I know, but the Forest City Group said that we can't start until our funds are in the account. Bob Myers said, don't worry, in October, $200 million can be paid. and the other $320 million will also be used as venue construction funds, and the negotiation of naming rights cannot be pulled down. The minimum sponsorship fee in 20 years is $200 million. Simon said to the New that Jim is still very concerned. Forest City Group is concerned about its Atlantic Plaza project, and what it cares about is the construction of the arena. Everyone has the same goal, and there is no need to worry about the failure of the Forest City Group. Without the Nets in the Brooklyn Stadium, their Atlantic Plaza project will not be attractive. But will the future arena really still be called Barclays Center? Simon is actually looking forward to the sponsorship of other brands. After all, this is New York. However, when the time comes, the New Jersey Nets will definitely not be this name. What should it be called? Brooklyn Nets? That's definitely not going to work. It must be New York ahead, not Brooklyn New York Nets. It doesn't work either. It needs a new name. The Seattle Supersonics are also moving from Seattle to Oklahoma City this year. The name is Thunder, Oklahoma City Thunder. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183: The Queen of Wall Street. The acquisition of the New Jersey Nets by the Ninehead Sports and Entertainment Company caused a wave of discussion, but Simon was thinking about the future name of the team. But it is still a little early, and it will be better to change the name after the new stadium is completed. After all, it is already May, and the international economic situation caused by the subprime mortgage crisis is getting worse and worse. The bank acquired Bear Stearns for every 0.05473 shares of common stock for 1 share of Bear Stearns, with huge financing and guarantees provided by the Federal Reserve, valued at about $260 million. Now the fourth largest investment bank, Lehman Brothers, is in very bad shape, and the Fed now hopes that other commercial banks or Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley can help Lehman Brothers out of the predicament. Nancy Davis sat across from Simon, with a serious face. The situation is indeed unimaginable. If a bank of this level goes bankrupt, the consequences. Bear Stearns Investment Bank, one of the top 5 investment banks on Wall Street, last year's stock price was as high as $150 a share, but now it's less than $2 a share. Simon smiled and looked at the information in his hand. Bear Stearns previously, due to the huge losses of the subprime housing loan fund. The capital reserves were also eagerly withdrawn by investors by more than $16 billion. The bought Bear Stearns at a low price, and at the same time received $30 billion of guarantee funds from the Federal Reserve. Bear Stearns bond collateral. Merrill, concerned and, unsurprisingly, Bank of America successfully acquired Merrill Lynch, and the largest individual commercial bank in the United States acquired the largest securities brokerage in the United States. It also concealed the amount of Merrill's losses from shareholders, leading to a class action lawsuit against Midland shareholders. Now, the title sponsorship of the Brooklyn Coliseum is being renegotiated with Barclays. And, I'm not sure, if we can't agree, Bank of America and Wells Fargo are all objects of negotiation. Merrill Lynch is the third largest investment bank after Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. It has a lot of business. Of course, the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department are involved in the acquisition. Now the worst is Lehman Brothers. Their losses are too large and they are in debt. There are too many, and there is not much capital left, and the inherent assets cannot completely offset the debt, Nancy Davis said, looking at Simon again, and continued. Commercial banks on Wall Street, and many investment funds have received letters of advice from the Federal Reserve and the government. The Paulson Fund and our Nine-Headed Bird Fund are the key targets. Simon was stunned when he heard it, and then sneered. What are we doing, just because we made a lot of money this time? I want to use our funds to save Lehman Brothers, a dream. Not to mention private equity funds like our Nine-Headed Bird Fund and Paulson Fund, even Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, Citi, Bank of America, Wells Fargo and other giant banks are not expected to save, unless the Federal Reserve and the Treasury can provide more guarantee funds than the acquisition of Bear Stearns. Who are the people on Wall Street? The government will not know. Simon was excited for a while, but soon calmed down and continued. How big is the Treasury Department's deficit? Everyone knows that the Federal Reserve's bailout fund has not yet been decided, and the situation of Lehman Brothers is extremely bad. If we really want to save, we must now invest heavily to stabilize the investors of Lehman Brothers. It's hard to say, although Lehman Brothers' business is very large, The government is certainly not willing to see problems with this level of business, but if the cost is too high, the Treasury Department will of course choose to sacrifice some people. Nancy Davis looked very open after all. In the current situation, it is difficult for anyone to fill that black hole. Simon nodded and said, yes, the result of Lehman Brothers is likely to be bankruptcy, and the chain reaction will be a global financial tsunami. Saying that, Simon stood up, walked to the window, looked at it, and said, the stock price of Langfang continues to fall. And when the bottom comes, we will close the position as quickly as possible, pay off the bank's loan, and leave Jitao. Part of the funds needed by Bird Sports, and the rest are invested in the oil futures market to short oil. Short oil for the rest? Nancy Davis was stunned for a moment, then made up her mind. After tax deduction, the income this time should be at least 5 or 6 billion, and then repay the loan, leaving the nine-headed bird. Sports money, the remaining $3 billion to short oil. Yes, in August at the latest, I want to see oil futures open positions, 10 times leverage, and at the end of July, the stock prices of the two houses are almost the same. Whether the bottom has little impact on us. Simon wants to be before Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt. Build a long position, otherwise the price of oil will plummet. The opportunity is too rare, even if there may be some losses and fluctuations in those 1 or 2 months, but with a high price of oil at that time, it is impossible to rise by 10%, and the losses are under control. Within the range oil will fall sharply. But now many people are speculating in oil futures, and the capital there is not small. Nancy Davis reminded Simon the oil futures market. I know the water is deep, Simon said confidently. However, an oil futures market can never be compared with a global economic situation. As a result of the global economic downturn, how much will the oil supply drop? When the oil price falls, the International Petroleum Organization can only take the initiative to reduce production. The price has stabilized. It is now more than $120 a barrel, and it seems to be rising. Is this oil or gold? But, Simon, you're really gambling your fortune again this time, and you're not saying that Starcia Entertainment will open new doors in Tribeca in Lower Manhattan and Burbank in Los Angeles, building a headquarters building? Nancy Davis was a little discouraged. Also, you have now acquired the NBA's Nets. Did the nine-head sports and entertainment company say that it would also acquire the British Football Club, and the football team of the NFL League, the number 1 sports in North America? Well, Nancy, now you have to believe my vision. Now my business is developing very widely, and I need a lot of funds. Nine-headed bird sports is my interest, and the funds I need are also a bottomless pit. I need more money to finish. Simon smiled and returned to his seat. Furthermore, Xinghai Entertainment is also in the expansion period. Now I don't want to raise funds, and I also need funds to back it up. Okay, in fact, you don't have any worries. After all, Xinghai Entertainment can make a lot of money every year. I understand. In fact, Nancy Davis really believes in Simon's vision now. Maybe, twice a year. The Big Short trade, the name of the Queen of Wall Street, will be even louder. Chapter 184 Emergencies. New York, Manhattan, on 5th Avenue on the Upper East Side, in Simon's villa, Sarah Bradna, who flew to New York from Munich, Germany, is nestling in Simon's arms on the sofa. The two are watching NBC News Entertainment Report on TV, where American TV classic comedy master Bill Cosby, the black comedy star of Dad Genius, will be arrested in Pennsylvania for indecent drugging and sexually assaulting multiple women. So there are more than 50 women who testify against this guy, Simon said casually, holding the sexy girl in his arms. Hearst Group is still a bit powerful in the media industry. Is it okay to buy the newspaper when the price is lower? Sarah Bradner was not familiar with this kind of American TV comedy star. When she heard Simon's statement, she was surprised. Will he be sentenced to prison? This year is 71 years old, and I can't think of doing this kind of thing. After all, one woman was assaulted earlier this year. There is a lot of evidence. At least 3 women who have been violated can provide enough evidence. It is certain to go to jail. It depends on the sentence for a few years. Simon is not very concerned about this, but Sonia Roman's Hollywood Women's Rights Club, from the point of view of the argument, it can't run for 10 years. Well, Sarah Bradna nodded, then put her arms around Simon's neck and said happily, I heard that the Metropolitan Museum of Art charity ball in New York is the Oscars of fashion. The American version of Vogue is the organizer. This year is a retrospective exhibition of Giorgio Armani, with the theme of superheroes, fashion and fantasy. Yeah, you are also a model, and the fashion events are suitable for you. Didn't you come to the New York Fashion Week for autumn and winter in February? This time I made up for you, Simon said, kissing the girl on the cheek. The Metropolitan Museum of Art Charity Ball in New York, Met Ball, is a fashion event. It is held at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York in early May every year. All kinds of film and television entertainment, singers, sports stars, etc. will be invited to participate, and the tickets are all $20,000 now. I had no chance before. It's good to participate in the 4 major fashion weeks. Now I have the opportunity to come to New York to participate in the Met Ball. I must have a good experience. Sarah Bradner is only 20 years old this year and is still at the University of Munich. One of the students, as a model, exposure is very important. The most important indicator for attracting magazines and advertisers is popularity. Sarah Bradner doesn't know Bastian Schweinsteiger now. Of course, there is no large-scale popularity at that time. There will also be a lot of fashion models, photographers, editors, designers and so on. You can really get to know them. Those Victoria's Secret models are also indispensable, Simon said with a smile. After all, as a fashion event, these people are of course indispensable. Sarah Bradner smiled, changed her posture, straddled Simon, put her arms around Simon's neck, and asked, "When will I go to China to watch the Olympics in August?" This is what Simon has already said, asking Sarah Bradner to accompany him to Beijing, China to watch the 2008 Olympics in early August. The opening ceremony over there is on August 8th. The Gulfstream G550 I ordered has been successfully tested and will be delivered soon. It will fly directly from San Francisco to Beijing at that time. Sarah Bradner finished attending. I have to go back to school after the New York Museum of Art Charity Ball, and I have a holiday for the Olympics. Okay. Sarah Bradner was very happy, and she took the initiative to kiss Simon's lips, her lips and tongues intertwined. Simon put his arms around Sarah Bradner's waist. The girl had a very good figure, wearing a low-cut knit. She was more graceful, and the two on the sofa were kissing more and more ecstatically. As soon as the kiss was over, the girl said, "I want to make up for you too, huh?" Simon took a breath when he saw Sarah Bradner slide onto the carpet and kneel in front of the sofa. Subsequently, Simon's trouser zipper was skillfully unzipped. Leaning on the sofa, Simon watched the TV news in front of him, and involuntarily placed one hand on the girl's blonde hair. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rang. Simon took out the phone, and it was Laura Collins who called. Sarah Bradner raised her head, looked at Simon. How could Simon stop? Patted the girl's head, and said, "Go on." Then, Sarah Bradner lowered her head again, and Simon answered the phone. "Boss, something has happened. Mr. Sidney Pollock's cancer has returned and he has been admitted to the emergency ward. Very serious." Laura Collins said on the phone, Sidney Pollock's cancer has returned? Life and Death will be released at the end of the year. Anthony Minghella just died of a brain hemorrhage in March, and now another producer, Sidney Pollock, has cancer recurrence? Isn't Phantom Productions dead? Simon was also surprised. Phantom Productions was the co-producer of Life and Death, and the two great directors, Anthony Minghella and Sidney Pollock, were Phantom Productions. The creator of course, is also the producer of Life and Death. Anthony Minghella died suddenly of a brain hemorrhage at his London home in March. And now even Sidney Pollock has come back with cancer and is definitely not in charge. The company has sent someone to visit, and I've lost my mind. Are we still showing Life and Death as usual? Laura Collins asked. The producer has an accident, and some follow-up matters of the film are not easy to carry out. Simon was also a little irritable. After all, the importance of the executive producer to the film is self-evident, and the preparation, shooting, and marketing are all involved. What advice does Nina have? Simon asked. The release date remains the same, but the create a publicity plan and invite experienced producers to take over. Laura Collins actually dare not say that the most suitable person to take over is the owner, Simon Parker. Okay, Nina decides. Simon didn't have time to manage the movie. The two main executors had an accident, and the impact was indeed not small. However, some marketing materials are also provided in the publicity, and the marketing department of the company must know how to do it. Anthony Minghella passed away this year at the age of 54. The English Patient and The Genius Hopley are his masterpieces. Sidney Pollock also has Out of Africa Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director movie of He. Simon sighed, and Sarah Bradner also stood up and asked while wiping her mouth, "What's wrong?" Simon shook his head, took the girl's hand and sat down, and said, "It's nothing." The two producers of Life and Death filmed in Berlin last year. Can't wait for the movie to be released for Sidney Pollock and Minghella. Anthony, It is indeed a pity, but there is no way that this kind of unexpected event is not. Chapter 185. In 2008, at 5:05 p.m., in front of the Metropolitan Museum of Art on 5th Avenue and 82nd Street in Manhattan, New York, there were star-studded and countless reporters surrounded the door. The American version of Vogue hosted the Metropolitan Museum of Art charity dinner for the Giorgio Armani-themed retrospective exhibition Superheroes, Fashion and Fantasy. Simon Parker, in a well-tailored Armani black tailored suit, walked down the red carpet in the flash of the spotlight, beside Sarah Bradna in a pale yellow low-cut evening gown. Simon, may I ask if your acquisition of the New Jersey Nets will soon move the Nets to Brooklyn, New York? Simon, what do you think of the current economic situation? Simon, what's the relationship between your girlfriend and you? The surrounding reporters kept asking questions. Simon just smiled and waved his hand, and accompanied by Sarah Bradna, entered the lobby of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Really a lot of people. Sarah Bradna appeared excited for the first time, surrounded by celebrities. Simon looked at it casually. There are definitely no less than 600 or 700 people. It takes about $2 million to hold such a fashion event. Vogue will find a main sponsor to hold it together every year. Giorgio Armani Fashion Retrospective. The partner is of course Armani. Many stars are wearing a set of Armani dresses. Simon himself, Giorgio Armani, is 74 this year, and I can't believe he has a lot of energy, Simon said, looking at Giorgio Armani, who was hugging with dinner host Julia Roberts. Julia Roberts, the king of Hollywood actresses in the 1990s, has unrivaled commercial appeal among actresses. After the fiasco of Stealing Hard in 2004, the production of the movie was reduced, and its influence gradually began to decrease. Simon, that's Tom Cruise and David Beckham walking towards us, Sarah Bradner said excitedly, grabbing Simon's arm. Two international handsome men came together, but Simon was very calm. As his status became higher and higher, there were fewer and fewer people who could make his mood fluctuate. Good evening, several people greeted. Simon then smiled and said, she is a German model called Sarah Bradna, a fan of both of you, Tom and David. Hello, Sarah. Tom Cruise and David Beckham are not people who don't understand anything. Simon Parker personally introduced this model, so now her identity is a bit interesting. Congratulations, I didn't expect you to have another identity now, the owner of an NBA team. Tom Cruise laughed. I originally liked sports. With the current economic situation, many investors lack funds. Of course, I have to praise the owners of those teams, Simon said and took a sip of wine with the two couples. By the way, Simon, you said you were interested in the Premier League, so are you ready? Victoria asked with a smile. If there is a suitable Premier League team, I will also buy one. Of course, it is better to be a team in London. After all, Xinghe Entertainment is setting up Xinghe International Pictures, and the location of its European headquarters is London. Simon did not hide anything of London team. Beckham nodded slightly, still very surprised that Simon wanted to acquire a Premier League team. It turned out that he really had this idea. Xinghe International Pictures, the department responsible for the overseas distribution of movies. Tom Cruise heard, of course, that Xinghe Entertainment is indeed going to set up an overseas distribution network. And capital and manpower are all very big requirements. Okay, the two are also celebrities. Many media people present want to interview the two and take photos of the two. We will talk later, Simon smiled, because there were obviously many people around immediately. Several people asked the reporter to take a few photos and then separated. After all, they all had some friends of their own who needed to say hello. Ms. Wintour, it's been a long time. Good evening. Simon met Anna Wintour, editor-in-chief of the American Vogue magazine, the organizer of the ball, and greeted with a smile. After all, the Queen wears Prada is also related. Mr. Pike, what do you think about the fashion industry? Anna Wintour asked while looking at Simon and Sarah Bradna. Fashion? Simon just shook his head and said, I don't know much about this. After all, I'm not a star either. Hollywood stars have a lot to do with it. Mr. Parker himself didn't want to make a movie and become an actor? Anna Wintour said and gestured with her hand. After all, Mr. Pike's appearance and stature are not inferior to Hollywood stars. Haha. Simon smiled, then glanced at Sarah Bradna, then turned to introduce, this is Miss Sarah Bradna, a fashion model, but she belongs to the fashion industry. Well, yes, Miss Bradna is very beautiful and has a very good figure. Anna Wintour nodded in praise. Thank you, Ms. Wintour. For Sarah Bradner, meeting such a fashion giant was more exciting than meeting a Hollywood superstar. Well, during the autumn and winter fashion week in September, Vogue will launch a monthly magazine of the same name. At that time, we still need some model shoots. Do you have time for Miss Bradna? Anna Wintour said with a smile. Yes. Sarah Bradna agreed after thinking for a while. The Beijing Olympics are in August and there is time to shoot in September. After Anna Wintour left, Simon helpless shook his head. The reality. Looking at Sarah Bradna's happy look, Simon smiled. It's not a magazine cover, what's so happy about it? But the sales of the American version of Vogue are very high. It's not bad that I can go up. Fashion Week magazine of the same name, then more people will be able to know me. Sarah Bradna has no reason to be unhappy. After all, standing by Simon Parker's side now, the Vogue side will definitely not dismiss itself casually, and the space will definitely not be short. Simon smiled. It was indeed a woman, and then his eyes lit up. He saw Taylor Swift. He changed his hairstyle, and his temperament was different. He was wearing a delicate look-at Chanel evening dress with that tall. The body has changed a bit before the release of her first self-titled album. Taylor Swift was nothing more than an earthy country girl. Unexpectedly, seeing it again now, it seems like a different person. The instant noodle head has been replaced with golden curly hair, and the baby fat on the face seems to have disappeared. Although the aura is small, it seems to have the taste of the future. At least the sense of fashion is gradually becoming stronger. Chapter 186. Tom Who Got Out of the Trough. By the way, Tom, the Tropic Thunder produced by DreamWorks released by Paramount should be released soon, right? Simon and Tom Cruise were sitting at a table and asked about the Tom Cruise film. Movies That Sacrifice appearance. It's going to be released in August, and I'm just making a cameo appearance. At present, Paramount's key project is Indiana Jones 4, Crystal Skull to be released this month, said Tom Cruise's previous unhappy relationship with Paramount. Slowly making up, Tropical Thunder is the beginning. Indiana Jones 4 directed by Steven Spielberg. I know that it will be released on 5.22. Such a big restarted IP has a very high degree of attention. Steve Spielberg and Harrison Ford, the combination can indeed attract a lot of people into the cinema. Simon also attaches great importance to this film, a rare series of Paramount films, but because the producer is Lucasfilm, Paramount can it's not much cheap. Similar to 20th Century Fox's release of Lucasfilm's Star Wars series, the initiative is in Lucasfilm's hands. The United Artists Film Investment Fund, which was previously supported by Merrill Lynch, cannot be used casually. It seems that the market situation next year is not optimistic. Tom Cruise still holds the title of Creative Production Director of United Artists. The situation is still known. With the current situation on Wall Street, a large number of funds are withdrawing from Hollywood. This is also impossible, Simon said, looking at Tom Cruise and smiling. Tom, your movie shouldn't worry about no investors, right? No matter how the economic situation changes, there will always be a large number of investors holding money, and Hollywood will work as well, but the number of movies will be reduced. The most influential people are of course the people in the entertainment industry below. Of course, the stars of the upper class in Hollywood are not worried about projects. Tom Cruise's image has changed a lot in the past 2 years, and the low point in 2006 seems to be gradually disappearing. Tom Cruise's good popularity in Hollywood also played a big role in promoting. Producers, directors, screenwriters, actors, etc. all helped him. Especially when the Screenwriters Guild went on strike, United Artists, which Tom Cruise and his partner Paula Wagner controlled, were the first to contact the Screenwriters Guild to agree to their terms, and won a lot of goodwill. However, Lianmei at that time was originally an empty shell, and there was no Xinghai film industry that could independently produce films as influential. After all, Lianmei only has a few people left. It is just a production label under MGM. It is famous for its film library and its long history. Right now, I only have one project, Action Target Hitler. MGM has changed the schedule a few times, and it will be released this year's Christmas schedule. Tom Cruise laughed also, at least you can grab the biggest box office. Simon also agrees with MGM's arrangement. After all, box office interests are the first. The distribution rights of MGM's Ace Series 007 are now in the hands of Sony Columbia, where, by the way, I heard that Paula Wagner, your partner who has worked with you for many years, is about to leave Cruise Wagner Pictures? Simon asked suddenly. Tom Cruise nodded helplessly and said, it's true, Paula really wants to leave the Cruise Wagner films we created together this year, and it will be announced when the Action Target Hitler is released. Actually, Paula was also the leader of my entry into the entertainment industry. When I came to the West Coast from the East Coast, Paula signed me as my agent. It has helped me a lot along the way. Tom Cruise and Paula Wagner have indeed worked together for many years, starting with the actor and agent relationship, and later founded Cruise Wagner Films together after Tom Cruise became famous. What about Lion Me? Will she still be the CEO of Lion Me? Simon continued to ask. Tom Cruise shook his head and seemed to know the old partner very well. He smiled and said, "No, she should become an independent producer. Of course, my partnership with her will not change. On the side of the US film industry, we will all quit. MGM is a bunch of messes, and United Pictures is not worthy of its name." After Paula Wagner quits Cruise Wagner Pictures, Tom Cruise will also participate in some movies in the name of Cruise Pictures in the future. Production Cruise Wagner Films has already released a remake of the movie Damned that has participated in the investment and production at the beginning of this year. It seems that there is also a remake of the old movie Death Speed. Death on the Run, starring Jason Statham, will be released this year. Yes, it is the remake of Sylvester Stallone's Death Drive in the 1970s, which was originally to be released by Paramount. After selecting Paul Anderson as the film director last year, Paramount let the project to Universal Pictures. Paula is the producer, and it will be released in North America on 8/22. Tom Cruise is still very clear about the films his company is involved in. Although the producer is Paula Wagner, he is also concerned about it. After all, Cruise Wagner Pictures also has some investments that are not. Simon nodded. Paul Anderson is the husband of the director of the Resident Evil series of films, the biological goddess of war Milla Jovovich. Then, when it was time for Tom Cruise to take the stage, the two stopped talking. Sarah Bradner has been keeping an eye on all the celebrities at the prom, but she's also keeping an eye on Simon Pike. After seeing him and Tom Cruise talking about things, he whispered, "Simon, I am so happy today. There are really a lot of celebrities here." Woolen cloth. Simon smiled, patted the back of the girl's hand, and nodded. "Actually, I don't know much about many fashion elements, and I'm surprised to see those strange shapes." The scene of the charity ball at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York is really full of too many eye-catching alternative fashion art. Not only ordinary people can't accept it, it is estimated that some people in the fashion industry can't stand it. Actually, fashion is also about attracting people in many aspects, without considering whether it is suitable for daily life. Designers design unique clothes for the sake of being famous. Sarah Bradner has been a model for several years. A lot is still known about these aspects. Simon nodded, and suddenly saw George Clooney in the distance. He remembered a previous script. Jason Reitman, the director of Juno, sent a script called In the Clouds. George Clooney was cast as the male lead, but the script was rewritten to write the lead role based on Steve Martin. Boring people. Simon murmured in his heart. Jason Reitman became famous when he collaborated with him in Juno, and only one comedy film, Thank You for Smoking, was released after that. Chapter 187. Richard and Amp Manor. Simon. Just when he came out of the bathroom, he met Jessica Alba in the corridor, a green look-at evening dress with a festive look on her face. "Hey, I didn't find you." Simon approached and said that since Jessica Alba broke up with her boyfriend last year, she has devoted herself to the establishment of The Honest Company this year. It seems that she has been busier than filming a few movies in the previous year. "Of course, the people surrounding you after you entered the lobby are all big stars and big bosses, and you didn't even notice me," said Jessica Alba, and Simon walked to a conversation room next door with Simon sitting on the sofa. Simon hugged Jessica Alba into his arms, and the two kissed like fire. "Sexy Jessica, no wonder so many people are obsessed with you." Simon laughed when the kiss ended. "Well, I heard that you are leaving the United States to go to China to watch the Olympics. Are you coming back after the Olympics are over in half a month?" Jessica Alba asked with her arms around Simon's neck. "Yes, the Cannes International Film Festival exhibition will be held in a few days. I will go there to see if there are any movies worth buying. I will go to China in August to watch the Olympics, and then I will go to the Venice Film Festival," Simon said. Now, in order to develop Xinghai Pictures, it is necessary to enter the first-line film distribution, and select the films worthy of acquisition by memory and return them for distribution. Are you going in person? But you just bought an NBA team. Isn't there a new gym in Brooklyn? Jessica Alba wondered. "Someone handled it," Simon said and kissed the girl's ear. "Well, I'm going to San Francisco in the future. Honest Company listens to your opinion and plans to focus on online sales. I purposely set up a research and development team there." Jessica Alba endured the provocation and responded, "Simon, we've been in for a long time. It's time to go back to the hall." Jessica Alba finally stood up from Simon's arms, and then smiled in Simon's ear again. I'll be in New York these days. After the Metropolitan Museum of Art charity ball in New York City, Sarah Bradner will return to Munich to continue her schooling outside Newark International Airport, one of the 3 major international airports in the New York metropolitan area. Simon Pike brought Sarah Bradner over in August. I will pick you up in Munich and fly directly to Beijing. Simon's privately built business jet is about to be delivered, currently the top luxury long-haul business jet Gulfstream G550. Well, okay, then I'll wait for you, Sarah Bradner said, kissing Simon on the cheek, and getting out of the car in Westchester County, south of New York City and the eastern border of Connecticut, at the Bedford Estate in Bedford Township. Colombian beauty Sofia Vergara greeted Simon from the car. Simon, this Bedford Estate is yours, and the transaction price is less than $4 million, Sofia Vergara said excitedly, as she led Simon into the 8-room house, 2 restaurants plus a yoga room and other casual private hotels, 2 for $4 million. Richard Gere spent $10.5 million on the acquisition, and then at least $1.5 million for the refurbishment. We can't believe that $4 million is now in our hands, Simon previously told Sofia. Vergara stared at this guy to find an opportunity to buy back this manor hotel at a low price, and now it has come true in a suite. Sofia Vergara brought Simon a cup of coffee, stroked her long hair, and said with a smile, Simon, the price of this manor was high when it was auctioned, but now the price has plummeted. Richard Gere doesn't seem to have a job lately, and he's lost a lot of money in real estate investments. Sofia Vergara is really fortunate to hug Simon Parker's thigh now. Not only has the business of Latin American world entertainment surged, but she also starred in the American drama Modern Family produced by Xinghe TV, which will be broadcast on ABC in September. This hotel manor is also for you to find someone to run it, and it also has your shares, Simon said with a smile while drinking coffee. Richard Gere is much worse than the original Time and Space now. After all, Simon Pike is targeting him now. Sofia Vergara doesn't care about any disputes between him and Simon. In short, the worse he is, the happier Simon will be. It would be good to inadvertently leak some news in this regard, and some independent producers will not take the initiative to find Richard Gere cooperation at the risk of offending Simon Pike. Richard Gere is now basically in a semi-retired state. He could only star in a small number of low-cost independent films. Now such opportunities are becoming less and less. The value of real estate has depreciated, and the loan he owes the bank cannot be repaid. Only selling the property to pay off the debt. Sofia Vergara deliberately wore a sexy lady's office dress today, which completely brought out her good figure. Simon put down the coffee after hearing this, looked at Sofia Vergara in a secretary outfit, feeling a little Laura Collins, and asked, this guy is not bankrupt? Isn't there a lot of properties? It should be soon. When I invested in the renovation of this private manor hotel, I was also sued by some local residents for destroying this historic manor, Sofia Vergara said, sitting next to Simon, and continued to speak next to Simon. He also spent money to deal with delays in the renovation period and handling complaints from residents. Also, Richard Gere is now divorcing his second wife, Kelly Lowe, and the alimony is a lot. When Simon heard it, it was interesting, and he put his arms around Sofia Vergara and said, this guy is very lucky. His first wife is supermodel Cindy Crawford, and his second wife is supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's Kelly Lowe, who starred in 007 License to Kill Bond Girl. Sofia Vergara kissed Simon's face and smiled. He's Kelly Lowe's third husband. Moreover, Kelly Lowe is indeed just a small actress, model, and the only person who is remembered as the Bond girl in 007 License to Kill. Simon nodded, leaned on the sofa, and let the girl lean on his arms, and said, after the first season of Modern Family airs, you should have a lot of popularity. Then pay attention. Xinghe International Pictures distribution channels in Latin America. Overseas English-speaking areas are simple to set up distribution channels, and in Latin America, such as Western-speaking areas, you still need to find some people who understand the market there and have connections. Well, I know. Our current Latin American World Entertainment Company has more and more influence there. I also have certain resources there and will fully cooperate with Xinghe, Sofia Vergara said seriously. After all, this is not only beneficial to Xinghe Entertainment, but also to himself. Chapter 188 Tesla and Amp Darkest Hour. In the early morning, Simon got up from Sofia Vergara, who has a 32G figure, and went to the bathroom to take a shower. Simon, I'm going back to Miami first. Are you going? Sofia Vergara asked while applying lipstick when she saw Simon coming out of the shower. No, I'm going to Cannes. These years have been very important for Xinghe Films. I have to personally select the films to be released, Simon said while wearing his clothes, having spent a week with Sofia Vergara. Now, it's time to go to France. Oh, then I went back to Palm Beach to help you find a large manor. I saw that yacht 2 days ago. Do you really want to buy it? Sofia Vergara wants to see it for Simon when she returns to Miami. A satisfied mansion, and this year's economic situation is not good. Many large luxury goods have dropped a lot, and some newly built private yachts are being sold at a reduced price. It's 98 feet long, although it is indeed a little smaller, but let's use it first. Anyway, I like the decoration very much, and this small luxury yacht is faster, isn't it? Simon smiled, and Sofia Vergara brought some. According to the information of this year's Miami International Boat Show, Simon just took a fancy to one. It's 128 feet long, and the price is $4 million, but the interior decoration of the yacht is very delicate. They are all designed by top designers and matched with top materials. Well, it is estimated that in Simon's eyes, anything below 200 feet is not a large luxury yacht after all. The top 100 private yachts in the world are all over 210 feet. The yacht market is in a slump now, otherwise the one I'm looking for will cost at least $6 million, and it has a strong sense of technology, Simon said, already dressed, and even thought of the name himself, Dream. Sofia Vergara took the initiative to tidy up Simon's tie again, then took the bag and went out with Simon. Simon, then I'm leaving. Remember to go to Miami when you have time to feel the heat of Latin beauty. Sofia Vergara kissed Simon and smiled, then got on the car and went straight to JFK International Airport. After returning to the headquarters of the Nine Heads Bird Fund in Manhattan, Laura Collins and Martha Cosby, who had not seen each other for a long time, were waiting for themselves. Boss, Twitter has just completed its second round of financing, with a valuation of $80 million and a financing of $15 million. We Joshio also continue to participate, and because of the economic downturn, our Joshio has funds, and our equity share has increased from 20% to 20%, 22%. Martha Cosby quickly reported the results. Simon nodded and smiled. I heard that they have introduced a lot of investment institutions, so that we can continue to follow the investment. It seems that they still trust us. Nine-headed birds have been in the limelight recently, and we basically didn't participate in their management. We have always supported them, Martha Cosby said with a smile, then frowned again. However, several founders of Twitter seem to prefer to introduce new investors to diversify the equity to achieve their purpose of controlling the company. We estimate that we will not get new shares in the subsequent financing. It doesn't matter, I just need to make sure that we have 20% of the equity. I believe Twitter will agree to this request. Simon doesn't care. After all, every financing will dilute his shares. And he needs to follow the investment to ensure that the equity he holds is not. It shouldn't be a big problem. After all, we have a good relationship with Twitter. We support the angel round of investment, and Twitter understands our ideas. Martha Cosby analyzed. Moreover, the Nine-Headed Bird Fund and Xinghe Entertainment are one, and our influence in the media industry is also a big boost. Very good. One more thing, it's about Elon Musk. You can take a look at the report on the Car Truth website. The Tesla group is in a bad situation right now, Simon said, turning the computer screen to Sarah Cosby looks countdown to Tesla's death. News headline on the website. Martha Cosby wondered, what do you mean, boss? Electric energy vehicles. I'm very optimistic about this project. Whether or not Elon Musk stole Tesla as investor and chairman from the genius engineer Eberhard, I don't care about this. Simon smiled, laughed, and then said directly, Elon Musk is now attracting investors all over the world, and Tesla is only one step away from bankruptcy. It is a good time for the Nine-Headed Bird Fund to intervene. I want to invest in Tesla. However, Tesla's financial situation is very unstable, and most of Elon Musk's funds are used in his aerospace business. Do we really want to invest? Martha Cosby did not understand. Elon Musk is still very talented. Tesla is a new energy vehicle no matter what, and there will be a market in the future, Simon said and took a sip of coffee. Find a chance to get in touch with Elon Musk, the head of Tesla, and the Nine-Headed Bird Fund is willing to help him. The current valuation of Tesla is between $400 million and $500 million. The Nine-Heads Bird Fund can provide $100 million in financing. Remember that 20% of Tesla's equity is my bottom line, $100 million? Martha Cosby opened her mouth wide. But, does the Nine-Headed Bird Fund still have $100 million in cash? If you inject funds from the Phoenix Private Equity Fund, it may be difficult to get investors' approval. After all, the funds of the Nine-Headed Bird Fund are still in the stock market, and either the loan will continue, or the Phoenix Fund will participate. Simon smiled and said, just get in touch first. Tesla is indeed short of money, but it's okay to wait 2 or 3 months, and the funds will be available at the end of July. There will be, won't it? Then, I'll discuss it with Nancy Davis. Martha Cosby was planning to follow Simon to Cannes, and it seemed that there was no chance again. Okay, now is the darkest moment for Tesla. The bigger the return on our $100 million investment, the better. Simon thought about Elon Musk's character and smiled involuntarily. When signing the contract, try to maximize our interests. Elon Musk is too individual, and he often does things without considering the consequences. The board of directors cannot be a decoration, and the scope of power of the current CEO should be increased. Elon Musk, as the chairman, has to consider the interests of investors. Simon admits that this guy is powerful, but he can't be too indulgent, otherwise this guy will make a lot of money, and the interests of other investors will be weakened. This year's opportunity, the best. Tesla has a new CEO, several company veterans have left the company, Elon Musk's rocket launches have also exploded, and Tesla is facing bankruptcy again. A great opportunity from God. Chapter 189. Back to Los Angeles. Slumdog Millionaire. We filed a lawsuit. The MPAA doesn't seem to have the idea of revising our movie rating. The movie was shot in a slum in India, and the overall tone of the plot was too tense. The judges didn't want to change the movie to PG-13 rating. Laura Collins reported to Simon, who was leaning on the chair, about the current Xinghai Films project. Simon was looking at his audition profile for the Twilight heroine, and had just seen the one for 18-year-old Kristen Stewart. Hearing Laura Collins' report, the corners of his eyes twitched. Rejected? Yes, but we're going to appeal to higher committee, and Slumdog Millionaire is perfectly PG-13. Laura Collins explained. Well, this Kristen Stewart is good. She debuted as a child actress and has a lot of acting experience. Twilight is a youth idol drama anyway, so choose her, Simon said, adding Kristen Stewart's information. Take it out and hand it to Laura Collins. The actor who can send it to Simon must meet the requirements of the movie. Okay, the age is just right, and it's very beautiful. Laura Collins took the information and said again, the Fake Marriage Project has been in contact with Sandra Bullock. She is also interested in this project, but she hopes that the male protagonist of the opposite play is a person in his early 20s, which will be very inconsistent. Oh, of course not. The male protagonist in the script has just graduated from college. It can be changed to a young man who has just entered the workplace. After finding Sandra Bullock, of course, he will not find another young man in his 20s. The characters in the script are all in line with the actor's character. The Incredible Hulk, released by Universal Pictures, will be released next month, and now we Marvel Studios are cooperating with them in the pre-screening promotion of the movie, as the first superhero movie of the Marvel Universe system. Although Marvel Studios is only the producer, but Mr. Kevin Feige is very concerned and very nervous. Laura Collins also knew that her boss also had high expectations for Marvel, and spent such a high price to acquire Marvel. Way, I don't want to buy back a useless company. The Incredible Hulk, sigh. Simon said and supported his forehead. Edward Norton had a lot of disputes with the producer and the publisher, and now he doesn't cooperate with the publicity. Mr. Gene Mayer, the president of Universal Pictures, has discussed the film with Mr. Kevin Feige and Ms. Nina Jacobson, but there is no good solution. Edward Norton's ideas for the film and the producers and directors were too divided, cautions Laura Collins. Let's go back to Los Angeles. I need to understand the situation of the Incredible Hulk. In any case, it is also the opening work of our Marvel Universe, Simon said. The Hulk and Iron Man are linked together. Not sure how to save the Hulk. Los Angeles in May is already entering the summer season. The Mediterranean climate, the daytime temperature above 20 degrees Celsius, and the sea breeze from the Pacific Ocean are mild and pleasant. The city of Santa Barbara is located 150 kilometers north of Los Angeles, back by the Santa Yates Mountains and facing the Pacific Ocean. It is the seat of the county seat of Santa Barbara County in a mansion near the coast. Simon came out of the bathroom after taking a shower. Emily Blunt, who had not seen him for a long time, pressed Simon on the sofa and wiped his hair for him. Dear, why did you choose to live here? More than 100 kilometers away from Hollywood? Simon wondered. Although the scenery of Santa Barbara is very good, but it's a bit far. I like it. You suggested that I choose Malibu or Santa Monica, but I think it's quieter and quieter here, Emily Blunt said, pulling Simon to the window, pointing to the view outside. laughing road. Look, the scenery is beautiful, and you are closer to nature. The mansion, valued at $4.5 million, covers a large area, with a built-up area of more than 7,000 square feet, and the nearby land also belongs to the house as long as you like it. Simon smiled and said, "It does look very elegant. This house was given to her by herself." "Well, Simon, thank you," Emily Blunt said, and took the initiative to kiss Simon Parker's lips. The pajamas were half unraveled. Simon saw the bite marks on the girl's chest, bowed his head and kissed with a smile. "It seems to be a little intense in the morning." Emily Blunt looked down and saw the teeth marks on her white chest, patted Simon on the chest, and said, "Yesterday you returned to Los Angeles from New York and came to me at night. Yang Zi seems very tired. Unexpectedly you're in good spirits in the morning. You are very busy this year, and I am too busy. I haven't seen you for a long time," Simon said, hugging the girl back to the sofa and sitting down. Emily Blunt finished filming Sunshine Cleaning at the end of last year and joined the crew of Child Abuse Suspect. The schedule of Sunshine Cleaning is scheduled for October. Basing Hey Kixing film, and I will also finish filming the young Queen Victoria in the UK, just in time to promote it. Emily Blunt will be at the end of this month. I went to the UK to shoot this movie. Sunshine Cleaning was nominated for the Jury Prize for a feature film at this year's St. Denis Film Festival, and its reputation is not bad. Simon didn't care too much. Anyway, the production cost was only $5 million. If this movie wasn't released by Hey Kixing, it probably wouldn't be released so soon. It would definitely be overwhelmed. Emily Blunt also understands that this kind of movie without much publicity is usually in that there are few resources available on the distribution, and it slowly shows its popularity by participating in some film festivals. The movie is okay, and the company has not many projects this year. This kind of small-budget movie doesn't take up much resources, Simon said. After all, different movies have very different distribution strategies. Simon suddenly found a hilltop mansion not far away, walked to the window and looked at it. Emily Blunt explained, it was a large Italian-style villa, combining classical and modern styles, with a large area. "Oh, is it for sale? The surrounding land is all there?" Simon had just discovered that, after all, it was a bit out of the ordinary, and there was a small river around. "Yes, the building area is more than 16,000 square feet, with 8 rooms and 8 bathrooms, plus a recreation room, study, movie hall, wine cellar, etc., and the entire 16 acres of land around it is also." Emily Blunt explained, "Let's get in touch. That big manor, I think it's very good." Simon really felt it at first glance of. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190. Santa Barbara. It took Simon Pike just 2 days to buy the estate he saw in the Santa Barbara Mountains for $12 million. Emily Blunt's own mansion would have been very nice. After all, Santa Barbara's house prices are not as expensive as those around Hollywood. After walking around the villa with Simon's arm, it's really good. Stone and glass are the main materials, and there is an annex building similar to a castle looking out to the coast. Behind it are valleys, trees, meadows, rivers, and the entire 16 acres is yours. Simon, who was standing by the large outdoor swimming pool, looked at the valley and said comfortably, "If the place is bigger, it can be used as a pasture." The breeze blew Emily Blunt's beautiful red hair, and the girl smiled. "Simon, you seem to have started investing in real estate this year. Beverly Hills, Malibu, Santa Monica, Miami and San Francisco, New York, you're asking people to help you choose a house. Now that the real estate is in a downturn, isn't this Valley Villa down from $16 million to $12 million? I want to live in Los Angeles and New York. As for other places, I will live there when I have time," Simon endured. "It has been several years, and this year is to buy a wave of top luxury houses. How much would that cost?" Emily Blunt asked in surprise. "Oh, am I short of money?" Simon said and smiled, pulling the girl to walk under a big tree, "but he specially prepared $200 million for this. Private jets, yachts, and mansions are not standard for the rich." The two sat on the grass. Simon leaned back against a big tree, and let the girl lie in his arms, enjoying the fragrance of the grass. "Simon, didn't you come back to deal with the Incredible Hulk? Why did you stay in Santa Barbara for a few days?" "I'll be back in Los Angeles tomorrow. The Incredible Hulk will have its global release in a month. I'll go back to see it, and then I have to go to the Cannes Film Festival," Simon said with his eyes closed. Smelling the fragrance of the grass. By the way, Simon, the Premier League starts in August. Will you go to the UK then? I'm also filming in London. Emily Blunt hopes that Simon will spend some time with herself this year. Simon opened his eyes, looked at the girl's hopeful eyes, leaned in and kissed the girl's lips, nodded and said, "When I go there, I will also buy a Premier League club, don't forget." "Okay, I'll be filming in London, come and find me," Emily Blunt said, putting her arms around Simon and kissing him on the grass under the tree in Hollywood. At the Pantages Theater in Universal City, NBC Universal held a preview of The Incredible Hulk. Simon was seated with Universal Pictures President Gene Mayer, along with several of the film's producers, Kevin Feige, Avi Allard and Gail Hurd. Since the beginning of last year, Bob Wright, vice chairman of GM Group, resigned as CEO of NBC Universal Entertainment and was taken over by Jeff Zucker, chairman of NBC Television. The film industry is throttling and controlling the film budget to focus on small and medium-budget films, unlike Warner Bros.' Alan Horn, who focuses on creating high-concept films. During the filming of The Incredible Hulk, the actor Edward Norton had a lot of power on the set and had the power to change the script almost every day after the filming was over. After the producer Marvel re-edited, many scenes added by Edward Norton himself were deleted, which caused Edward Norton strong dissatisfaction, even once threatened to re-edit by not cooperating with the film's publicity. The contradictions became more and more troublesome when we invited Edward Norton to play the Hulk. One of the conditions he put forward was the power to revise the script, Kevin Feige said helplessly. After all, Universal Pictures, as the investor and distributor, had the most power. When Anne was filming the Hulk, the actor they were looking for was Edward Norton. It seems that he wants to make The Incredible Hulk a serious and deep superhero movie. Simon looked at the screen. Edward Norton's human struggle in The Incredible Hulk is indeed tangled and contradictory. Let the movie move closer to the direction of art, but it goes against the commercial pursuit of Marvel. Edward will not be absent from the upcoming film promotions. He and Liv Tyler will cooperate with a global release next month. Speaking is producer Gail Hurd, James Cameron's second wife, is the producer of the Terminator series and other films, and she also produced The Punisher, produced by Lionsgate this year. Lionsgate will also release an independent film based on Marvel's adaptation of the film The Punisher 2, Warzone at the end of the year, which is the sequel to The Punisher released in 2004. Simon Pike and Gene Mayer turned their heads to look at Edward Norton and Liv Tyler in the other row. Simon, why isn't Iron Man released in July, when it can be linked with The Incredible Hulk? There must be surprises in the summer? Gene Mayer, who had not spoken, suddenly asked how. Mr. Mayer, Xinghai Pictures only acquired the distribution system of the Peak this year. We couldn't win many theaters during the summer vacation, and we didn't have enough time to promote it, Simon explained. With the previous situation of the Peak, it is indeed impossible to have a summer vacation file to release a blockbuster of this size. Gene Mayer smiled. When Simon acquired Marvel, he immediately terminated negotiations with Paramount Pictures about film distribution, and then acquired Summit and United Theater, all for the sake of Xinghai ready for release. The production cost of The Incredible Hulk and Iron Man is about $150 million. In addition to the huge marketing cost, the two of us have invested a lot. The success of the entire Marvel system is very important. The hero has a great influence, Simon continued, looking at Avi Allard again and laughing. Let everyone know that Marvel's famous superheroes are not only Spider-Man, but the heroes of the X-Men, Simon, the Fantastic Four in the Marvel system, the Hulk, etc. are also well known, said Avi Arad with a smile. As a former Marvel veteran, he participated in the production of Sony Columbia's Spider-Man series, 20th Century Fox's X-Men series, etc. Still have a lot of say in this regard. The movie will be released globally in a month. Simon, what ideas do you have to put forward as soon as possible? As the president and chief operating officer of Universal Pictures, Gene Mayer is concerned about the future box office and revenue of the movie. Simon shook his head and smiled. In terms of publicity, I can't compare to those professional film marketing talents. Chapter 191. In the corner of the theater, Simon and Gene Mayer watched the interaction between the creators of The Incredible Hulk and reporters and film critics, but they talked about other things. Simon, Hollywood has existed for many years. From the star system to the big studio producer system, the right to speak is always in the hands of the big studios. Recently, for some reasons, there have been some bad scandals, which is not conducive to Hollywood. Developed. Gene Mayer, as one of the 5 CAA Tigers of the Year, has been in Universal Pictures for many years, the old fox of course. Simon knows what he means. The Hollywood Women's Rights Club has its own support. First, the genius dad Bill Cosby was brought to court. Years of sin also ruined his reputation. Hollywood has always been a dirty, scandalous place, and some scandals inevitably broke out. Woody Allen, Roland Polanski, Morgan Freeman and other big-name directors and stars who have been hiding in Europe have been reported in scandals. Of course, people like indie directors Woody Allen and Roland Polanski, who have been through years of sexual assault lawsuits, are now being mentioned mainly. Veteran acting stars like Morgan Freeman were also exposed to the scandal of molesting female actors, which has indeed cast a shadow over Hollywood, and that's what Simon instructed to take the black man, slow down Mario's current campaign from Hollywood's black support, and make himself more important. Mr. Mayor, I understand, and I also understand the rules of Hollywood, but now Hollywood seems to have some sores, which affect our interests. The market of the entertainment and cultural industry is developing rapidly, and Hollywood can't be messed up, Simon explained. Jean Mayer was stunned for a moment, and said suspiciously, Simon, you are also at the top of the Hollywood pyramid. Men and women have never been equal in Hollywood. Simon supports feminism. Did Jean Mayer not understand his main purpose? It's an information society now, new media are developing too fast, and some things will always break out. Simon looked at the red wine in his hand. If the future erupts without preparation, the shock it will cause is beyond our imagination. Although we have mastered television, radio, newspapers and magazines, the technology network in Silicon Valley is not ours, and the public can read the information faster. Jean Mayer sighed. You young people have different ideas, especially geniuses like you, Simon, but Hollywood has Hollywood rules, and some things will have a bad influence if exposed. The development of new media is changing with each passing day, and some things will be easier to deal with now than in the future. Simon smiled and continued, it doesn't matter under the rules, but if it goes too far, it will backfire. The pressure needs to be released slowly, otherwise it will hurt us. Simon, what do you mean? Jean Mayer seemed to hear what Simon was going to do. Harvey Weinstein? Not only Jean Mayer, but Hollywood knows that the biggest competitors of Xinhai Entertainment are Lionsgate and Weinstein Films, but Lionsgate is a genre market after all, and Weinstein Films, the owner of the industry, is the founder of Miramax, who has a unique vision in art films. Now Xinhai Film is thriving, and it is a natural enemy. Moreover, the feud between Simon Pike and Harvey Weinstein is also known to many people. I'm not interested in him, but Mr. Mayer has a good relationship with him. You can remind him not to challenge my bottom line. He can't bear my anger, Simon said, staring at Jean Mayer. Xinhai Entertainment is only a part of my industry, but now it is bigger than Weinstein Films. People don't always live in the glory of the past. Jean Mayer was startled. Simon's eyes were too sharp, and he still nodded. After all, he is only the president of Universal Pictures, with NBC Universal on it, and General Electric as the boss behind the scenes. In terms of identity and status, the current Simon is not comparable to a studio president. He is the real behind-the-scenes Capital Group Simon. In fact, many people have already reminded him, let him calm down, but Harvey Weinstein is also deeply rooted in Hollywood, and has been the top figure in Hollywood for many years. Fame and influence are great, this will it caused a shock in Hollywood, so you have to think carefully. Jean Mayer couldn't imagine what would happen if Harvey Weinstein faced the same situation as Bill Cosby. Don't worry, I'm also a member of Hollywood, and I have the responsibility to maintain the prosperity of Hollywood. If I don't break the rules, I don't care, Simon said. After all, he is also a beneficiary of Hollywood rules. Jean Mayer nodded and left the theater immediately. After all, being the chief operating officer of Universal Pictures is also very busy. Coming to the balcony on the second floor of the theater, Simon leaned on the railing to see the brightly lit Universal City scene, the best theme park after Disneyland. Hey, Mr. Pike. Liv Tyler also came to the balcony to air, and greeted Simon when he saw him. Call me Simon. The large-scale promotion of the movie The Incredible Hulk is about to start, and then you will be busy. The elf princess, who is only 31 years old this year, is wearing an off-the-shoulder dress with a height of 183. Good, be busy, Liv Tyler said with tired eyes, walking to Simon, leaning on the railing, and smiling. I saw you at the Metropolitan Museum of Art charity ball before, however, because there are so many people, Simon, you didn't notice I should. Liv Tyler just divorced Royston Langdon, the lead singer and bassist of the psychedelic rock band Space Pigs, this year. She is raising her 3-year-old son alone. Naturally, she is in a bad mood. It's good to be busy with work. Simon looked at Liv Tyler, who is indeed very similar to Anne Hathaway, and smiled. People should look like before The scenery will be better. Oh, Simon, where do you think there is a better view? Liv Tyler asked with a smile. The Argentine Belk sparkling wine at the Kuhl Bar on Hollywood Boulevard is good. It should be very suitable for you now. Let's go have a drink together. Simon invited. Although he had just drank some red wine, Simon was still very sober. After Liv Tyler brushed the long hair around her ear with her hand, she looked at Simon and nodded with a smile, and then left the theater together with Simon's outstretched arm. Chapter 192 Platinum Triangle. Early in the morning, in a suite at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills, Simon was on the edge of the bed answering the phone. Wait a minute, I'll go to see the house at 10 o'clock. Laura Collins called to tell me if I wanted to see the house today, a large hilltop villa that Simon was looking at in Beverly Hills. Okay, Simon immediately put down the phone and let out a long sigh of relief. After a while, Liv Tyler got out of the quilt. The girl took out the tissue aside and wiped her mouth and asked, "Is there anything else?" Simon nodded and said, "Just go and see the house." After drinking at the bar with Liv Tyler last night, the girl was in a depressed mood. Of course, Simon wanted to comfort him. It is logical to come to the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills and relieved for the night. At this time, Liv Tyler's face was flushed red, leaning on Simon's chest. More and more beautiful, Liv Tyler smiled, and Simon felt more and more that she and Anne Hathaway looked alike. "It's time for me to go back too," Liv Tyler said, getting up from the bed, pulling one side of her pajamas and putting it on. "Is this kind of one-night stand still a thing in Hollywood?" Simon looked at Liv Tyler, nodded with a smile, and got up immediately. The Platinum Triangle of Los Angeles, consisting of Holmby Hills, Biller and Beverly Hills, is a well-known affluent area in the United States. Beverly Hills is next to Hilltop Villa in Bel Air, covering an area of 27,000 square feet, with a construction area of almost 15,000 square feet, marble-style materials, 3-story design, outdoor swimming pool plus a long temperature-controlled swimming pool on the second floor, the large garage next to it, the surrounding towering trees and the fence provide enough privacy. Boss, it's very big here, with 8 rooms and 9 bathrooms, a luxurious screening room, and a large basement floor with a vault overlooking the panorama of Los Angeles, Laura Collins said excitedly. $23 million, it's worth it. It didn't take me so long to choose. Simon was really satisfied, and spent more than an hour strolling around the luxury villa. "Does it still need to be redecorated?" Laura Collins asked. "Yes, I don't like the indoor bowling alley over there. It's good to change it into a hall. Build a tennis court outdoors, and the rest of the furniture and the like can be according to my preferences. Simon will live here permanently in the future to arrange according to your preferences." Laura Collins nodded, then reminded, "I'm going to France for the Cannes Film Festival tomorrow." "Cannes?" Simon nodded, raised his watch and looked at it. 5:13. Tomorrow is the opening ceremony of the Cannes Film Festival. However, Simon's mind quickly thought of another thing. "Go back. I want to be alone this afternoon. I don't want to see anyone, and I don't want to care about anything," Simon said. Laura Collins was in a good mood for the boss just now, but she looked at her watch and suddenly felt a little wrong, but nodded anyway. Simon left directly. Laura Collins looked at the boss's back and touched his head helplessly. Did he just say something wrong? Tomorrow 5:14 is indeed the opening ceremony of the Cannes Film Festival. Simon left Beverly Hills, went to the country golf club in Los Angeles, found a quiet place, and kept swinging his golf clubs. Yesterday was 5:12, that is, at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning in the western United States. Today, a major earthquake occurred in Wenchuan. The next morning, Simon packed up his mood and boarded a plane to France. After getting off the plane from Nice International Airport, we drove to the Esplanade Hotel in Cannes, and the distribution department of Xinghai Pictures had already sent people to the film festival. It was Ashley Brax, the former DreamWorks assistant to the president who had discovered Spirit Ghosts from the airport, who picked up Simon from the airport. The penthouse of a hotel on the Croisette in Cannes, with its balcony facing the blue sky and the unrivaled sea view of the Mediterranean Sea, is an attractive season for Cannes in May, especially the Cannes Film Festival. Simon returned to the room. Ashley Brax was placing a document, then sat on the sofa and asked, "Which one are you in charge of now?" Ashley Brax, who was previously an assistant to the president, responded, "Xinghai Kaixing Pictures and Jiguang Pictures have contacted the distribution projects, looking for some independent films worthy of our distribution to acquire." "Sit down," Simon said, and he casually opened the information that Ashley Brax had just put away. It seemed that they were all currently looking for a release of film projects. There are projects that have entered the Cannes Film Festival, and there are projects that have not entered the festival. Ashley Brack sat opposite Simon and began to report, "At present, the Chinese film Chibi that we distribute as an agent seems to have a distribution company that wants to take over. On the 19th, Chibi will hold a press conference at the film festival. Yes, there will be a 10-minute movie trailer, and the film's producer, Lion Rock Films, will also join the negotiation." Simon nodded. Lion Rock Pictures is an American film production company established by John Woo and Zhang Jiaqiang, responsible for operating some of John Woo's film projects. There was an earthquake in China 2 days ago. Chinese people all over the world are concerned about it. When I came, I also paid attention to the Chinese groups participating in this year's film festival. We will also actively participate in it. Simon is talking about donating money. Also, we also need to strengthen our experience in distributing Chinese films, and don't always focus on our goals with famous entertainers in Hollywood. We need to know more about their domestic entertainment market, which will be our key direction in the future. Ashley Brax nodded and responded, "Understood. The main market for the story of Hachiko, produced by Venus Films, is the Asian market, especially the Chinese, Japanese and Korean markets. In the wider Chinese cultural circle, Ms. Jacobson decided to use the tale of Hachiko the Faithful Dog as our stepping stone into Asia. Very good. In the future, Daystar Pictures will spend more energy on the Asian market, strengthen cooperation with the Asian market in terms of film investment, production, distribution, etc., and establish cooperative relations with some large local film and television media groups." There are different cultures in different regions, and the people who understand the market the most are the local people. We can provide advanced production processes, and the content still needs to respect the ideas of the local people. Simon is very aware of the cultural differences between the East and the West. In some cases, only locals understand local production is the best, and Xinghe is responsible for marketing in overseas markets. Otherwise, it is just a waste of money and resources to make co-produced films that are not good or bad. Chapter 193 At an Amp Really Honest. After the opening of the 61st Cannes Film Festival in 2008, Simon began to study the films currently on the film festival market with peace of mind. Perhaps due to the bad economic situation, the opening ceremony of this year's Cannes Film Festival was much less starry. Although the highlight was the final closing ceremony and awards ceremony, this year's opening ceremony red carpet lacked a lot of stars. When he came to France, of course Simon was going to be with Eva Green, who he hadn't seen for a long time. Leaning on the beach chair, Simon was drinking juice while flipping through the newspaper in his hand, not with sunglasses and umbrellas. This kind of reading newspapers in the sun is also a ruthless person. Shortlisted at the Cannes Film Festival, various competition exhibition units, and participating films, a total of more than 1,300 short films from all over the world. Putting down the newspaper, Eva Green just came back from the beach, and her graceful figure became more and more attractive under the background of the bikini. "It's been a few days, haven't you watched a movie yet?" Eva Green said, sitting on a beach chair next to her. Simon shook his head. After all, the good ones are already being operated by distribution companies. Now, we can only choose those that slip through the net or bid for some independent films that everyone is optimistic about. "Don't worry, the film festival has 10 days, maybe you will find a good movie," Eva Green comforted. "It's okay. After the 60th anniversary of the Cannes Film Festival last year, this year seems to have changed. The opening ceremony films and the finalists are all politically promoted. Even this year's chairman of the jury, Sean Penn, did not talk about this year's political performance anywhere." Simon smiled. Can a lengthy political documentary without art at all become the opening film of the Cannes Film Festival, or a Cannes Film Festival that pursues freedom, individuality, independence, and art? Eva Green shook her head. She has only one small-budget movie released this year, and she has not yet received the script. Simon looked at Eva Green. The style is indeed somewhat limited, but the acting is still okay, and it is also open, but the resources are really too poor. The company received the script of a small-budget independent film, which is the first work of a new director. It is adapted from the novel of the same name by South African female writer Sheila Kohler. It tells the story of adolescent children in a boarding school who are closed and lack adult supervision. To inspire the dark and violent side of human nature into the story, Simon was talking about The Crack, a small project received by Xinghe Kaixing Pictures. The story sounds challenging, Eva Green seemed to have a natural obsession with dark characters. The director of this film project is led by Jordan Scott, the daughter of the famous British director Ridley Scott. Star Ocean has agreed to develop it, and Jordan Scott is ready to adapt the script. I will recommend it when the time comes. You play the heroine, Simon said plainly. Okay, I'll read that novel. Well, Eva Green wasn't really picky about the characters, and this was recommended by Simon Peck, so it wouldn't make sense in the evening. The Scotts are also in Kent now, so we can meet and talk about it. Simon called Eva Green from Paris, of course prepared for the benefit. Eva Green nodded, approached Simon Pike, and said, "It's already afternoon. Why don't you go back to your room for a rest?" Simon took off his sunglasses, rubbed his eyes, and nodded in agreement. "You've been staying in France lately, haven't you prepared any projects?" Simon asked Eva Green on the sofa in the resort hotel room. "No, after last year's Franklin filmed in the UK, I didn't participate in the project." Eva Green pondered whether it was because of the Golden Compass fiasco that caused this situation. "Don't worry, now that I have a distribution system, there will be no shortage of resources in the future. Whether it is a commercial film or an independent literary film, the company is now receiving more and more projects. Simon will definitely make Xinghe a large scale in the future. Publishers. It is also inevitable to introduce investment in the future, but it is still a little early, and the valuation of Xinghe Entertainment still has great potential to be tapped." "And what do you think of the Jordan Scott adaptation you're talking about?" After all, Eva Green can still see the script, so she doesn't know the specifics. "It was Ridley Scott who made The Bridge, and the UK's best release film supported his daughter in the production of Crack, but as North America, the world's largest market, best release films needed a cooperative distributor, so that found us." Simon's newly formed Xinghe Kaixing Film is indeed specialized in producing and distributing such overseas independent films. "Best release pictures? This company seems to be quite well known in the UK." Eva Green responded. "Yes, this company has released a lot of popular independent films in the UK over the years." Simon certainly knew. Best Picture Films is currently one of the famous British distributors, the Bean Agent series. As well as the British distributors of some independent films, this company is doing it. Eva Green smiled, put her arms around Simon's neck and kissed it, then said with a smile, "Foreign actresses in Hollywood seem to be not doing well except in the UK and Australia. Is it because of language? After all, except that the United Kingdom and Australia are English-speaking countries, female stars in European countries such as France, Germany, and Italy do not get very good resources in Hollywood. French Isabelle Adjani, Sophie Marceau, Juliette Binoche, etc. seem to be dominated by French movies, otherwise they are mainly used as vases in Hollywood. Indeed, this is the main reason. Regardless of other reasons, the European side has a relatively high artistic pursuit of movies. Hollywood is mainly about commercial films. This is an unspoken rule in Hollywood. The resources and remuneration of local actors are much higher than those of foreign actors." "What about you? Do you also like those art films?" Simon asked with a smile. Eva Green shook her head and said, "Artistic films have low cost, so I have a chance. Commercial films need influential stars, and I can only play supporting roles. However, I think both commercial films and art films should be taken seriously. After all, I love acting. Which actor would only like low-cost independent films? The influence of commercial films is much greater than that of art films, but there are so many films every year, most of which are independent films. After all, the number of commercial investment films is small, and resource allocation is not yet available. It's just a small actor of Eva Green's level." Simon stretched out his hand and squeezed Eva Green's chin, and said with a smile, "It's quite honest." Eva Green nodded. After all, it is Simon Parker who is holding her now, the current Hollywood entertainment tycoon. Will he not see through this? No need to hide. No. Chapter 194. Best Release. Cannes, in a box on the second floor of a restaurant not far from the Cine Palace on the Corniche. Simon Pike chats with Ridley Scott and Best Release Films representative John Wells about the film. Jordan Scott, on the other hand, was chatting with Eva Green about the plot aspects of Crack. "Originally, we were going to find IFC Pictures as the distributor in North America, but I never thought that it would be great to cooperate with Xinghe Pictures, which won the Oscar for Best Picture." John Wells laughed. After all, IFC Pictures' the distribution capability cannot be compared with Xinghe Pictures at all. The financial resources, channels and popularity of Xinghe Pictures should not be underestimated. Simon first looked at Ridley Scott and said with a smile, "With the contacts of the two Mr. Scotts in Hollywood, It is not difficult to find a release for such a low-cost literary film. Ridley Scott has already made films such as Blade Runner, The Endless Flower and Gladiator. Of course, American Gangster and Black Hawk Down are also directed by him. Moreover, Ridley Scott's younger brother, Tony Scott, is also a famous director, such as Top Gun, Thunderbolt, Public Enemy, Rage to Rescue and Time and Space, all directed by him. Ridley Scott just smiled and said, "Tony and I can only take Jordan into the industry, and the future depends on her. After all, she is only 13 years old. It is her first time to direct a movie, and she will inevitably encounter some difficulties." The Ridley Scott family, the brothers, are big directors, and their son Jack Scott is also a director, and Jordan Scott, as Jack Scott's half-sister, is now going to be a director. Simon nodded. Ridley Scott is definitely one of the top directors, and Xinghai Pictures will inevitably cooperate with him in the future. By the way, Best Release Pictures seems to have a lot of projects going on, right? Simon turned to John Wells again. John Wells nodded and said with a smile, "Yes, but we are the UK home ground after all, and the market is so big. For you, Hollywood, we develop low-budget movies, and the North American market depends on you. The publishing company here will do it. However, our Best Release Films distribution capabilities in the UK are still good, and we also want to establish cooperation with Xinghai Films." Simon nodded calmly. The main event is coming. The few films that Xinghai Pictures will release this year are very attractive: Iron Man, Slumdog Millionaire, Life and Death, Reading and Sunshine Cleaning. These films from Xinghai Pictures and their schedules. Best Release Pictures is interested in releasing them in the UK? Simon with a smile, he asked. These films were all invested and produced by Xinghai Films themselves, but they were not pre-sold and released overseas. Except for Life and Death, which was participated by the German Constantin Films, of course. They also got the German film industry copyright. The movie is about to be released, and if this is calculated, the release price in each overseas market will be very different from the pre-sale price. John Wells shook his head, and said helplessly, "Life and Death and Iron Man are now attracting a lot of attention, and we don't have the ability to release it. We now hope to be able to release your company's Sunshine Wash and Slumdog Millionaire films." Simon took a look at John Wells. The investment in these two films is small, and the influence is not very large. It seems that the Best Release film industry is mainly based on independent films. John, I also think that these two films will have good results for Best Release films to release in the UK. When the time comes, the relevant personnel in our distribution department will contact you. Simon laughed. After all, Slumdog Hundreds, the director of Millionaire, has a very good relationship with Best Release Films and has recommended it. As for literary films like Sunshine Cleaning, it is indeed appropriate that Best Release Films has its own art theater chain in the UK. By the way, at the film festival, our distribution department recommended a thriller Lake Eden from your Best Release film industry. I think it's okay, but the North American market can be handed over to us. Xinghai Films, Simon suddenly said. Think of this low-budget thriller recommended by Ashley Brack's Lake Eden is a movie about juvenile delinquency with a desperate ending. It is artistic, but not very commercial. If it weren't for the low cost, and the male lead was Michael Fassbender and the female lead was British actress Kelly Riley, Simon would not have paid attention. Lake Eden, because the movie is so desperate. We haven't found a North American distributor yet, but Weinstein Pictures has penetrated the idea, John Wells explained with a smile. Simon smiled and said, Weinstein Pictures has released more than 30 movies this year. It seems that the release date of Lake Eden in the UK is September. Xinghai Pictures will have enough resources to ensure that the movie will be released this year. John Wells smiled and nodded, knowing that Xinghai Pictures and Weinstein Pictures are now at odds with each other, and of course they want to sell the release price higher. Simon doesn't care about John Wells saying that Weinstein Pictures raised the price. If the price is not satisfied, Xinghai Pictures will definitely not release it. There are Life and Death and Slumdog Millionaire. Xinghai Film is still worried about next year's Oscars this year. Simon, I'm currently working on a series, The Good Wife, about how a politician's wife gets her life back after her husband was jailed for prostitution and corruption. Women in politics. Workplace stories. I wonder if your Xinghai TV company has any ideas in this regard, said Ridley Scott suddenly. The Good Wife? Simon was stunned for a moment and then nodded. You can send the script to our TV department. We need to understand it first. Simon is very happy, probably to support his daughter's filming of Crack. After all, Ridley Scott has a director's film Body of Lies to be released this year, and also produced a good drama Unexpectedly. He wants to start producing The Good Wife this year. and he will also be the producer of his daughter's film Crack. At the same time, the Robin Hood script that Universal Pictures bid for last year also confirmed Ridley Scott is the director, and preparations for another epic blockbuster have begun. Of course, The Gossip Girl, produced by Xinghe TV, has received a very good response. You have produced 2 more episodes this year, and it seems that you are adapting a zombie comic-themed episode, The Walking Dead. Xinghe Entertainment is indeed blooming everywhere. As a famous director and producer, Ridley Scott is of course willing to have a good relationship with Xinghe Entertainment. After all, they not only have money, but also have vision. After Ridley Scott finished speaking, the 3 of them laughed involuntarily. Chapter 195, Boring Party. This project is not bad. Although it is a bit unique, the reversal of the ending is still very distinctive. Simon was sitting on the sofa holding a movie plan. The name of the project was The Orphan's Resentment. The horror film, The Devil of the Wax Museum, directed by director Zomi Sheila, was also a successful film, and this Orphan's Resentment is another horror thriller, which is indeed worth looking forward to, and the budget is not large, suitable for our Aurora Shadow industry to operate. Ashley Brax, found here in Cannes, and specially recommended it. A 9-year-old child is actually an adult in his 30s. Simon certainly knew about The Orphans. It's too partial. The release of the film will definitely cause some parents who adopt children to resist a wave of voices, but this is indeed a successful low-budget horror movie. The plan of The Orphan's Resentment is very complete, and the director hopes to start shooting as soon as possible. Ashley Brax continued. Simon nodded. Yes, anyway, Aurora Pictures currently only has one project of Smart, Ghost Record, and The Orphan can also be released next year. After Ashley Brax had left, Simon and Nina Jacobson had a phone call. In the English-speaking countries such as the UK and Australia, we need to set up Xinghe Pictures' international distribution branch as soon as possible. After all, these countries and regions have almost no cultural barriers and can be established quickly, Simon said. Europe is originally the backyard of Hollywood movies. However, the establishment of the distribution system requires experienced practitioners, but the UK and Australia are basically Hollywood movies. Understood. The company is currently negotiating acquisitions with some publishers in the UK and Australia, and with our own staff, I believe that there will soon be Xinghe International Pictures UK and Australia branches, said Ni on the other end of the phone. Na Jacobson explained that the company has indeed been focusing on improving the distribution department recently. Needless to say, in North America, the rest of the overseas markets are of course also looking for partners or forming branches. In the future, the company will release more and more films, and it will definitely be necessary to pre-sell overseas releases to raise funds. It is impossible for all films to be funded by the company in terms of distribution. We must pay attention to follow-up. The Eden Lake in September, we will release it in North America a week after the best release film in the UK, and then there will be a few movies developed by ourselves. I believe that with a united theater, the distribution of our films will be easier. Simon is of course concerned about those Iron Man, Slumdog Millionaire and Life and Death. After hanging up the phone, Simon leaned on the sofa. There are indeed many films participating in the Cannes Film Festival, but some influential films have already had North American distributors. There are too many movies without a distributor, and most of them are too rough or purely overseas. It is difficult to get the opportunity to be released in North America, and the box office will not be much in the evening. On a luxury yacht off the coast of Cannes, there was a large party organized by Rupert Murdoch's wife Wendy Ding. After meeting with Jordan Scott to discuss the movie Crack, Eva Green is now ready for the role, not only holding the original novel, but also going to the UK to feel the atmosphere of the women's college. Simon didn't actually have much interest in this kind of party, but because it was a party organized by Ding Wendy, Simon came anyway. Not only because she is Rupert Murdoch's wife, Simon also wanted to learn something about the Wenchuan earthquake from the party. Sure enough, the closing ceremony is much more important than the opening ceremony, Simon said to Nicole Kidman, who was sitting across from him while drinking, because tomorrow is the closing ceremony of the Cannes Film Festival, and now many stars are coming. Arrived here in Cannes. Tomorrow is the awards ceremony, of course many people will come. Nicole Kidman is of course a star invited by the organizing committee, and is currently filming the movie Weakness, and Simon saw that she and Ding Wendy seem to have a good relationship. Looking at some of the people invited by Ding Wendy, there were really many people. How is the progress of Weakness? How do you feel? Simon asked. Nicole Kidman rolled her eyes and responded, it is estimated that the film will be closed in September. As for the feeling of shooting, it is very different. How do you say? Does the director want you to show a warm temperament, to have that kind of emotional investment in maternal love? Simon smiled. Nicole Kidman gave people the feeling that there was a strong aura, which the second is indeed to change, from the styling and makeup to the matching of clothes, to give the audience a kind of middle-aged woman who is kind and compassionate. So, that's it. As an inspirational and moving movie, sensationalism is indispensable, but it feels really warm. Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise have been married for more than 10 years, and they have adopted a pair of children, but they all live with Tom Cruise. Simon nodded and saw Wendy Deng approaching, with Zhang Ziyi by his side. Simon, good evening. I should thank you for your strong support for the Wenchuan earthquake donation. Wendy Deng came over and said to Simon. Simon nodded. Zhang Ziyi and other Chinese stars did have charity activities at the Cannes Film Festival these days, and he really supported them. Mr. Pike, thank you, you have helped a lot of people. Zhang Ziyi thanks Simon said sadly, it's just a trivial little favor. If you need my help in the charity activities you organize, you can put it up. Thank you, Mr. Pike, you donated $5 million here alone, but we only raised 30 million yuan in the past 2 weeks. Zhang said. Ziyi smiled bitterly. Simon shook his head. Even Wendy Deng only donated $100,000. The Chibi crew was mainly promoting their movie, and few foreigners cared about the earthquake there. Take your time, Simon has nothing to do. This kind of thing can only be done consciously. People who donate also want to get publicity, especially the stars, and people have to watch the show. By the way, Simon, I have a good friend who said I know you too, and she's here too. Do you want to meet? Wendy Deng, who was chatting with Nicole Kidman, suddenly said to Simon. Oh, who is it? After Wendy Deng and Murdoch got married, they really got to know a lot of celebrities or politicians by relying on this identity. Now even Nicole Kidman, Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich and Anna Wintour have an unusual relationship with her. Of course Simon didn't know who she was talking about. Who knew her? Ivanka. Chapter 196. Want to make money with me? I didn't expect to see you here at the Cannes Film Festival. Cheers. Simon and Ivanka chatted together leaning against a parapet on the upper deck of the yacht. I was originally in New York, and Wendy asked me to come here for 2 days. Ivanka laughed. Simon nodded. I really don't understand how these two became good friends. The scenery in Cannes is good, and tomorrow will be the closing ceremony for the awards. It will be very lively. It is indeed a good place to relax. Simon nodded and said, the weather is pleasant and the scenery is beautiful. Ivanka turned to look at Simon, holding her head and smiling. Remember Jared Kushner of the Kushner Group? Remember, what's the matter? Simon nodded. Aren't you two in love? The Kushner Group is now heavily in debt because of the previously acquired building in Midtown Manhattan. Ivanka does have plans to fall in love with Jared Kushner, but their family is Jewish and needs to convert to Judaism. Ivanka was called to Cannes by Wendy Deng before she could decide. Wendy Deng also seems to think that Jared Kushner is a good match for him. After all, the family is a famous real estate developer. In the current situation, the Kushner Group is not the only one with a lot of debt, and now the Kushner Group is in contact with Stephen Ross of Ornato Real Estate Company to give up part of the property rights. Nato real estate companies also need good news to stimulate their stock prices now, Simon said, although he didn't understand their various operations very well, but he also understood a little. The Kushner Group's main business is housing in New Jersey, and the acquisition of buildings in Midtown Manhattan is another leveraged financing acquisition. Vornado Real Estate has also seen a sharp drop in its share price due to the subprime mortgage crisis, and a stake in a luxury building in Midtown Manhattan can indeed give investor confidence. Yet, it seems that you are indeed paying attention to the real estate market in New York. Ivanka is now the vice president of her own group, helping her father manage the business. The Brooklyn Stadium project and the Xinghai building project in Tribeca, Lower Manhattan are all large-scale projects with a lot of investment. Your nine-headed bird fund is so beautiful this year, Ivanka said with sincere envy. Shorting CDS in a crisis is so beautiful. Simon can't deny that your father is also a talent. Don't you like to file for bankruptcy of a certain company after encountering difficulties? From the early Taj Mahal Casino Hotel in Atlantic City to the Resort and Entertainment Resort in previous years, there have been 6 bankruptcy records in more than a dozen years. Why, are you interested in my Brooklyn Stadium or Xinghai building? Simon asked with a smile. If you are willing to pay, Simon doesn't mind giving up part of the equity. After all, the current cash flow is really important. Ivanka shook her head, looked at the Mediterranean Sea in the night sky, and smiled. I hope you are interested in the hotel. But then she laughed at herself. However, at this time, a shrewd person like you is definitely not interested in a hotel? Simon said with a smile. Who said I'm not interested in hotels? I'm interested in Hilton Hotel Group now. Hilton Group? Ivanka opened her mouth in surprise and said in surprise, after Blackstone Group acquired Hilton Holdings Group in a leveraged transaction last year. Now the subprime mortgage crisis has broken out and assets have shrunk significantly, which can be said to be Blackstone Group's worst acquisition. Blackstone bought Hilton Holdings for $26.8 billion in June last year and then took it private from the New York Stock Exchange. Blackstone Group itself only contributed $6.8 billion, and the remaining $20 billion of funds came from external investment banks or funds high leverage financing acquisitions, and the outbreak of the subprime mortgage crisis this year. Hilton worldwide sales fell by more than 20%, and earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization fell by 40%. Blackstone Group's current investment in Hilton continues to write down. Simon nodded and said indifferently, I think it's a big hole, right? Blackstone Group is indeed very difficult at present. As the first private equity fund to go public, their ability to manage listed assets is still good. If the group restructures its assets, replaces its management, and changes its operation mode, there is still a chance. Of course, these are all successful measures of Blackstone Group in the future. It has indeed succeeded in changing management and reducing operating costs in the future. Hilton Group has also turned around after its relisting, becoming the most successful investment of Blackstone Group, and it is still a Chinese investment group. Ivanka's brows wrinkled. She is too familiar with the chain hotel group. The Hilton Hotel is really good, but can the Blackstone Group really survive? Are you going to take a stake in the Hilton Group now? Ivanka asked. Now Simon has the capital. Simon shook his head and said with a smile, I don't have the energy or time now. I have too many things in Xinghai Entertainment. I will consider it if I have a chance in the future. After all, there are too many things to make money, and a Hilton Group in a mere area can't be seen, and it's okay as a diversification investment. Well, I have time. Although I am working in my father's company, I don't have any specific business. It's just a few fashion brands I created by myself, Ivanka said, staring at Simon. I'm very familiar with hotel management. How about we cooperate? Oh. Simon was stunned for a moment. This guy is indeed an insider, and approached. What kind of cooperation? Law. We jointly set up a hotel management fund under the banner of Tauber to invest in some promising hotels. Ivanka responded seriously. Of course, this hotel, the management of the fund must be dominated by you, and I can manage it. After all, I have some connections in this area, and the general direction will still listen to you. Simon smiled, a little interesting. Now that the Nine-Head Bird Fund is in the limelight, the establishment of a hotel management fund must be dominated by itself. Isn't it just to pay for it? Ivanka will manage it, and the general direction has to be determined by herself. Isn't this just wanting to drink some soup with herself? I have to think about it. After all, I don't have time right now, Simon said. Why should I take you to make money? You manage. You are only 27 years old, and you have not proven yourself to have the management ability in this area. Ivanka is also smart. Of course she understands the perfunctory in Simon's words. Her mouth is close to Simon's ear and she smiles. Simon, you don't seem to believe that I have this ability. How can you prove that you have the ability in this regard? Simon is not stupid. If it is okay to invest in Hilton Group, it will be managed by Blackstone anyway, but if it is an acquired hotel asset, then you need to participate in the management yourself. Now, you can't completely entrust others again, otherwise, what's the use of you? Ivanka smiled, but took the initiative to kiss Simon's lips. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197. Simon Pike and Nicole Kidman are walking out of the Palace of the Films after attending the unremarkable closing ceremony of the 61st Cannes Film Festival. Well, what's wrong? Nicole Kidman asked when Simon stopped. Simon stopped because he had spotted Sharon Stone, who was being interviewed, and a bad feeling arose immediately. Damn. Simon murmured in his heart, this guy who wanted to die. He really forgot at this moment. The old-fashioned Sharon Stone was being interviewed by reporters with a smile, unaware that Simon, who was not far from him, was watching him. Ms. Stone, what do you think of the earthquake that occurred in China 2 weeks ago? The reporter asked, a sad topic. Oh, I know this, you know? It's a funny thing. I don't like the way they treat people. It might be retribution. Sharon Stone said with a grim smile. Simon on the side opened his mouth wide, and the reporters around also quickly wrote it down. It was such an explosive news. Nicole Kidman was also interviewed by reporters and didn't hear anything, but Simon Pegg kept paying attention to Sharon Stone's side. His face changed and changed, a hellish look. A reporter soon discovered the situation and immediately came to ask, "Mr. Pegg, what do you think of Ms. Sharon Stone's attitude towards the earthquake that happened in China just now? What do you think?" Simon looked at Sharon Stone over there. His ugly face was still calm, suppressed the anger in his heart, and said seriously, "The Wenchun earthquake claimed nearly 70,000 lives, injured more than 300,000 people, and nearly 20,000 people were missing. How could such a big natural disaster be said to be interesting? I feel ashamed that such a person who does not respect life actually lives under the same sky as me. The Cannes Film Festival invites such a person, and it is estimated that he will regret it. It is even more sad that such a person exists in Hollywood." After Simon finished speaking, he left the interview area without looking back. He was in a bad mood and almost went up and slapped the guy twice. One stone caused 1,000 waves, and Sharon Stone's remarks quickly aroused widespread media discussion. Most of the media criticized her attitude, especially the Chinese circles. Of course, strongly resisted. Cannes Film Festival President Jill Jacobs spoke to the media the next day. "Ms. Sharon Stone's remarks are completely wrong, and the widespread criticism is completely self-inflicted." The head of public relations for Dior China also stated, "Dior absolutely disagrees with Sharon Stone's remarks. The French headquarters attaches great importance to this incident, and will communicate with Sharon Stone himself as soon as possible, and make a public statement and deal with it seriously as soon as possible." On the balcony of the Esplanade Resort Hotel, Simon leaned on a chair and watched the warm sandy beach not far away. Nicole Kidman came over with 2 glasses of wine and handed Simon a glass. "I didn't expect such a discordant scene at the Cannes Film Festival," Nicole Kidman said. "Of course Sharon Stone's inappropriate remarks help. Ex-stars always like to do outrageous things or say outrageous remarks to attract people's attention. She is courting her own death." Simon said contemptuously, "Hey, you were interviewed yesterday, and your opinion on Sharon Stone is also very serious." The film anti-AIDS fundraising dinner that was an important dinner at the Cannes Film Festival before has also changed the host of the dinner, Nicole said. Kidman didn't know that Simon was so angry, but Sharon Stone made Simon unhappy, and the consequences were still very serious. After the identity is different, Simon can indeed determine the future of many entertainers. The top of the pyramid is power. The Cannes Film Festival is not important to major Hollywood studios, let alone a dinner party at the film festival. How many dinner parties are there during the Cannes Film Festival? The more influential the star, the greater the consequences, and the consequences of offending a big man. Nicole Kidman went to the Movies Against AIDS charity dinner last night and guest starred as the host of the charity dinner, replacing Sharon Stone. She doesn't have any resources anyway. In this situation, it offends the entire Chinese market. "It's really unusual," Nicole Kidman said, "completely incomprehensible. Even Paris Hilton would not say how a country is. After all, any country is great. Forget it, it's just a sin." Simon took a sip of wine and asked again, "Has the Weinstein Films musical 9 started filming?" Nicole Kidman nodded. In fact, it was a pity that Rob Marshall, the director of the musical 9, had directed Chicago before. Daniel Day-Lewis, Penelope Cruz, Marion Cotillard, Judi Dench, Sophia Loren are all good actors. "Who's the character Harvey is going to give you now?" Simon asked Catherine Zeta-Jones. There were not many roles in the original role. Catherine Zeta-Jones wanted the director to add more highlights, but the director did not agree, and finally persuaded Catherine Zeta-Jones. Nicole Kidman paid attention to that. The movie, after all, is a big production with a budget of $90 million. Song and dance? It's difficult. Chicago is just a flashback, and Weinstein Pictures still wants to win? Simon smiled. Song and dance are suitable for awards, and commercial success is difficult. After the millennium, Chicago in 2002, another Mamma Mia. It was also taken down by myself. Well, Simon, your vision can't be wrong, and I agree. Nicole Kidman is now his career is very dangerous, and Weakness is a movie of a battle to turn over and must be taken seriously. Simon nodded and reminded, "The sunshine cleaning, you are the producer, you should participate more. The movie will be released in a few months, and it is beneficial to participate more in post-production, marketing strategy, etc. It's always good to lean in the direction of the producer." Nicole Kidman nodded, understanding what Simon meant. "The older the actress, the fewer resources. I understand. I have done a lot of sunshine cleaning myself. Now Huang production company has a partner, and I found that some good scripts will also be developed, Nicole said, looking at Simon. I'll definitely need your support at that time. I'm not too ambitious, that is to say, I mainly focus on independent literary and artistic films, and now I'm also hanging under your Xinghai Kaixing Film Company. Yes, there will be support from Venus Pictures at that time. Simon set up Venus Pictures to do this. Independent films need distribution support, and Venus Pictures can give her some green lights in the future. Chapter 198 Unable to Touch? Paris, 8th arrondissement. On a sofa in the suite room of the Four Seasons Hotel George V. Paris on the Champs-Élysées, Simon Pike brought Eva Green from Cannes just now. After Eva Green went to take a bath, Simon sitting on the sofa received a call from Ivanka. Simon, have you thought about it? Didn't you buy a mansion in some cities recently? Manhattan in New York, Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, etc. I can give some advice. Ivanka on the other end of the phone seemed to be very much looking forward to meeting Simon. There is some cooperation in real estate, you know this too? Simon smiled. It's really not a secret. That night, at the yacht party organized by Wendy Deng, the two hugged and kissed on the deck for a few minutes and did nothing. Well, I have a Bedford Manor Castle Hotel in Bedford, Westchester. If you are interested, you can try to manage it. Simon has no time to set up any real estate now. The hotel fund, but the private manor hotel that Sofia Vergara is going to manage. Sofia Vergara accepted the yacht for herself in Miami and is helping herself to buy a villa, and she has to connect with the publishers in Latin America. Too busy? Well, yes. For such a small manor hotel, there is nothing difficult, Ivanka readily agreed. By the way, I also want to buy a few private islands in the Bahamas in the Caribbean and Southeast Asia, and then transform them into private holiday islands. If you can do it to my satisfaction, I will set up a hangout with you. The real estate fund under the Nine-Headed Bird Fund, Simon said, private islands, which are very cheap now, and have wanted to own private islands for a long time. Okay, I have experience. I am also optimistic about building a private holiday home on this island. Wait for my good news. I will fly back to the United States tomorrow to start processing, Ivanka said in an irrepressible tone of surprise. After hanging up the phone, Simon leaned on the sofa and shook his head. Woman. Simon, aren't you going to take a shower? Eva Green came out of the bathroom wearing a translucent silk nightgown, her perfect figure looming. Simon was stunned for a moment, and suddenly thought of the appearance of Eva Green in Sin City 2 in his previous life. But obviously, she will definitely not take on Weinstein Pictures in the future, and that look will not appear. Eva Green smiled and sat in Simon's arms, then turned on the TV in the hall with the remote control. Wait, later, don't worry. Simon hugged the girl and said lazily. A news was being broadcast on TV. The mayor of Paris awarded the ex Lama the title of honorary citizen. Change the channel and look at the entertainment news in France, Simon said. Since Sarkozy was elected French president last year, there have been too many such things. Okay, Eva Green, of course, has no problem. After all, she is in the entertainment industry. The news is reporting that this year's phenomenal French comedy Welcome to the North has achieved the #1 result in French film history. Welcome to the North is now the highest-grossing film in France. Eva Green surprised it was released at the end of February, and the number of viewers in 2 months was close to 18 million, breaking the film history record. 18 million people, according to French ticket prices and the exchange rate of euros and US dollars. Welcome to the North almost achieved close to $180 million at the box office in France in 2 months. Welcome to the North has now surpassed $180 million in the French box office, and it is still being released in sporadic theaters. The French box office will definitely exceed $190 million when it is finally released. Simon's introduction with his eyes fixed on the screen, his mind kept turning. A French film, and a touching film that has achieved good results around the world. Untouchable. By the way, there seems to be a documentary in France about the friendship between a paralyzed nobleman and his black supporters, you know? Simon asked Eva Green, who was being hugged by him. Untouchable's touch is indeed based on the experience of real people a few years ago. The documentary you're talking about is based on Filippo Pozzo di Borgo's autobiography, Second Breath, which was made in 2004. Eva Green responded quickly. Second Breath? So where is the protagonist Filippo Pozzo di Borgo now? Simon is sure to get the rights to one of the highest-grossing non-English films, isn't it? Untouchable has achieved a box office of nearly $460 million in the world. Of course, The North American market is not popular, only more than $10 million US. There is no way. This kind of touching film has never been liked by the Yankees. He lives in Monaco, and Philippe Pozzo di Borgo is a French nobleman with a lot of money. Eva Green had read the news introduction before Simon nodded after listening, kissed the girl's lips, and then took out his mobile phone and dialed Ashley Brack's. Ashley, there is an autobiography Second Breath by Mr. Philippe Pozzo di Borgo in France. You go to Monaco to find the protagonist. Xinghe Pictures wants to acquire the film adaptation rights of this autobiography. Okay. Ashley Brax, who was still in Cannes, put down the phone. The protagonist of Second Breath, Philippe Pozzo di Borgo, lives in Monaco and does have to visit in person to guarantee the rights to the film adaptation of his autobiography. Ashley Brax leaned on the hotel sofa, thinking, Xinghe Keixing Film has decided to invest in Crack, co-produced by the UK's Best Release Films, owns the UK copyright, and at the same time, Venus Pictures will also release Eden Lake, produced by Best Release Films, in addition to the film adaptation rights of Second Breath that the boss wants to get now. This trip to Cannes can be regarded as something of a gain. However, there are also discordant voices, which are Sharon Stone's remarks. Now Xinghe Entertainment has just decided to focus on the Asian market, and this happened. No wonder the boss did this to Sharon Stone and the media. Harsh criticism. Even George Clooney can't stand the criticism of someone like the boss, let alone Sharon Stone. Ashley Brack smiled. Hollywood has always been a place to talk about strength. It was indeed the right thing to leave DreamWorks and enter Xinghe Entertainment. With Simon Parker's precise vision and his unparalleled financial strength, perhaps in the future Xinghe Entertainment can really become a movie entertainment group comparable to the six. Ashley Brax was full of energy at the moment. Chapter 199. Europa Pictures. Paris is the romantic capital of the world, but Simon doesn't like it much. It's not so much the pride of the French to live in romance, but in Simon's view, France is almost a black country. Moreover, the filth of Paris is indeed true, and the bustling neighborhoods also cover up the filth of the place. Accompanied by Eva Green, Simon, who visited Paris for 3 days, also lost his sense of the city. Especially after the Beijing Olympic torch relay in April was blocked and protested in Paris, Simon wanted to help France have some fun in the evening. In the hotel bathroom, Simon Pike and Eva Green lay in the bathtub. By the way, the filming of Crack will start around October, and the filming will take place in the United Kingdom. I have to prepare well, Eva Green said, leaning against Simon's arms. How long are you going to stay in France? We won't be here for a few days. Simon originally planned to buy a seaside holiday villa in France, but in June, the European Cup between Austria and Switzerland will be held, and Simon still wants to take time to go there to see Spain win the championship, and the NBA lottery has also ended. The Nets have no luck at all. They haven't drawn a good lottery. The draft at the end of June should also be paid attention to. The Woody Allen-directed feature film Midnight in Barcelona that was screened at the previous Cannes Film Festival felt very good. Simon, what do you think? Eva Green felt that the screened film, it's really high level. It's a good collection of Penelope Cruz, Scarlett Johansson, Rebecca Hall, Javier Bardem, and Woody Allen's best literary romance. Simon said of this, the movie doesn't have much idea, but it can't be denied that the movie is really good. As for Woody Allen, who is now affected by Bill Cosby's sexual assault case, his character is not good, but his ability is still there. Now there are fewer and fewer films by independent directors. Alice, Eva Green prefers European literary films, but in the general environment, especially the commercial nature and influence of Hollywood, literary films are becoming more and more. It's hard to get the investment you need. Simon smiled and said, these issues are not yours to consider. Movies are just an industry. However, when I came to France this time, I did have some interest in the luxury brands here, Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton Group and Bino Spring Radius Group, the luxury brands under the two fashion groups this year. Sales don't seem to be that great. Bino Spring Ledoux, PPR, Group has not changed its name to Kering Group, and its most important brand is Gucci luxury brand. Eva Green really didn't understand how Simon was interested in fashion brands. Again, forget it, I don't have time now, I'll talk about it later when I have a chance, Simon said, standing up from the bathtub, and continued, also, for the upcoming European Cup in Austria and Switzerland, I see that there are so many black football players in your French team. Does your country like black people very much? Eva Green shook her head, stood up and wiped Simon's back with a towel, while explaining, I don't know, I'm not very interested in football, but now the proportion of blacks in France is indeed very high, It's about to turn black anyway. Simon said, picking up the girl and leaving the bathroom half lying on the bed. Simon was flipping through the French entertainment newspapers. Welcome to the North, a low-cost French comedy that has no overseas market. Didn't pay much attention. Oh, never thought Sophie Marceau and Monica Bellucci were going to star in a feature film. Don't look back. Simon turned to board. French rose plus Italian flower, European. The two most dazzling goddesses are going to play against each other on the same stage. Eva Green lay on her side and hugged Simon's waist, smiling. Are you interested in this movie, or are you interested in these two goddesses? Hey, what do you think? Simon smiled and said, hey, Sophie Marceau released a war-themed movie Super Female Agent in March this year, with an investment of $50 million, but the box office was a mess. Don't forget, I'm from Hollywood, and I'm pursuing film business. In France, the best business is Europa Films, the film company directed by Luc Besson. Aren't we going to party on the outskirts of Paris tomorrow? We will definitely meet a lot of people from the French entertainment industry. Eva Green raised her head and reminded, indeed, Europa Pictures' slogan is to become the leader of European commercial films. Luc Besson wants to resist Hollywood business. Many of Europa Pictures' films are English-language films, and they are also for external distribution, Simon added. Not to mention, the reason why I am going to that party tomorrow is indeed for a movie from Europa Pictures. The action film Hurricane Rescue, starring Liam Neeson and produced by Europa Pictures, was released in France in February. The production cost was $25 million, and it is currently released in a few countries such as France, China, Belgium, and South Korea. The domestic box office is also average, and the French box office is only 7 or 8 million euros. The largest North American market is still looking for distributors. After all, the big director Luc Besson is the producer and screenwriter of Hurricane Rescue, and the director of the film is also of Violent Neighborhoods. 13 Director Pierre Morel. Therefore, Hurricane Rescue does not lack North American distributors, but Europa Pictures is still choosing and negotiating. Simon is of course aware that the North American box office of this small-budget film is very good, and it is a lucrative series that must not be missed. Ms. Sophie Marceau is mainly filming in France now, and Hollywood is not attractive to her anymore. When Eva Green heard Simon say that she wasn't interested in the movie Don't Look Back that Sophie Marceau and Monica Bellucci were going to star in, she was definitely interested in People. She's your French kiss, and I'm her fam too, Simon said. Reaching out and touching Eva Green's face, she stroked her finger on the girl's lips and said with a smile, when I met you at the time, it seemed that Sophie Marceau introduced it. Eva Green nodded, then opened her mouth and bit Simon's finger lightly. Feeling the softness of the girl's tongue, Simon thought about Sophie Marceau. At the age of 42, she still seems to be very attractive to men. As for Monica Bellucci, despite being 44 years old, the sexy label is still on her. Chapter 200. Fox and Amp Wall. In the northern suburbs of Paris, a large-scale ball is being held in a large castle estate built in the 19th century. Boss, the film adaptation rights of Second Breath have been obtained. Ashley Brax, who returned from Monaco, was reporting to Simon in the corner of the manor. Very well, how about the North American distribution rights for Europa Pictures' action movie Hurricane Rescue? Simon saw the executives of Europa Pictures in this castle manor I just talked. Europa Pictures and 20th Century Fox seem to have a cooperation, and they are currently negotiating. If we say so. Ashley Brax said. Hell, what's wrong with the cooperation? It was released in February. At present, Hurricane Rescue is also released in a few countries such as France. It is obvious that we have not negotiated with 20th Century Fox. We are playing fair, Simon said incredulously. 20th Century Fox didn't take it too seriously for an action movie that cost only $25 million. Price? Ashley Brax asked. After all, if you like this movie, the price will be higher according to the current reputation and box office of Hurricane Rescue. If the North American copyright is bought out, the price can be higher, and the price is not higher than $25 million. The highest price is $25 million. At this price, the North American copyright is bought out. It is estimated that it is almost the same. One North American market will allow Europa Pictures to earn back the production cost. Ashley Brax is meaningless. Action movies still have a certain amount in the DVD market of influence. It's almost there, at least we paid it all in one lump sum. After all, Europa Pictures doesn't have much capital, and the investors behind, such as French TV station number 4, M5 Pictures, etc., who don't want to recover the funds as soon as possible? We have to wait until the film is released. Split the account, wait for the DVD market. The TV show? It's too long. Simon laughed. Could Luc Besson still not agree? Earlier, Danny the Wolf, produced by Luc Besson and cooperating with Jet Li, invested $45 million, and the North American box office was less than $5 million. It was a loss. Okay, got it, then I'll go and talk to Mr. Pierre Angel again. Ashley Brack said Pierre Angel was the one who formed Europa Pictures with Luc Besson and is now the CEO of Europa Pictures. Simon nodded, and Ashley Brax walked away immediately. After the success of Hurricane Rescue, the sequel will definitely start, and Xinghai Pictures will definitely continue to be the distributor in the North American market. 20th Century Fox. Simon can only say sorry in his heart. After all, Juno and the Queen Wears Prada were taken away by himself. Mr. Pike, good evening. A greeting sounded just as Simon was about to find Eva Green. A man and a woman came to Simon, the British actress Rachel Weisz and his director husband Darren Aronofsky as the heroine of the first two parts of the Mummy series. Rachel Weisz's popularity is still good. Darren Aronofsky, as a Harvard graduate, has directed Pi and Requiem for Dreams. Good evening, both of you. Simon shook hands with the couple. After all, Rachel Weisz hasn't divorced yet, and married Daniel Craig. After Mr. Parker attended the Cannes Film Festival, hasn't he gone back yet? Rachel Weisz's Bloom Brothers, to be released this year, is also released by Xinghai Pictures. Come and see. Paris is the entertainment capital of France. Simon said and shook hands with the two. Indeed, there are major French film companies on this side of Paris, and Europa Pictures is headquartered in Saint-Denis, in the Seine-Saint-Denis department, on the northern outskirts of Paris, not far from here, Darren Aronofsky said. Sky said, yeah, now Xinghai Pictures is developing in the film distribution industry, and I have to go to the front line to see it myself, Simon said, holding up the glass and touching the two of them. Really? Darren Aronofsky's eyes lit up when he heard it. He just filmed a sports drama last year and is still looking for a distributor. Mr. Pike, I directed a low-budget sports drama movie last year about wrestling, a literary film starring Mickey Rourke. Wrestling? Mickey Rourke. Simon suddenly thought of something. Wasn't Wrestling King exactly what this guy filmed? What's the name of the movie? It's called The Wrestling King, and it tells the story of a once-in-a-lifetime professional wrestler in the 1980s from glory to failure. It's not the most important thing, and the guy who later directed Black Swan was nominated for a Best Picture Oscar and earned Natalie Portman an Oscar. Simon looked at Darren Aronofsky again, as if remembering that the guy had been preparing for the shoot for years. Take some time and take your movie to Xinghai Pictures. Now Xinghai Pictures specializes in investing in the production and distribution of independent movies, Simon said without a trace, looking very calm. The other party must not see it at this moment. Simon has already regarded Wrestling King as a movie of Xinghai Pictures. By the way, Darren, do you have any other plans at the moment? Simon asked again before Darren Aronofsky could react. Universal had a script for The Substitute, a supernatural thriller about ballet, and I put together a detailed shooting plan early last year. It was handed over to Universal Pictures, hoping to get the startup capital for the filming. But Universal wanted me to produce this film in a short and fast way, which means to finish the film in the shortest possible time. However, I didn't have a finalized script at the time, and Universal Pictures didn't invest, so I made the movie Wrestle King last year. Darren Aronofsky said helplessly. Substitute, a ballet super thriller story. Simon smiled. The original script was in Universal Pictures, and this is the original script of the future movie Black Swan. Simon remembers very clearly that Black Swan was released by 20th Century Fox in its previous life, and it seems that Universal Pictures should have given up. Xinghai Pictures is very supportive of independent films now. Simon said, the meaning is obvious. Darren Aronofsky can also understand, saying that Xinghai Pictures may support his directing plan. Thank you. Darren Aronofsky and Rachel Weisz both thanked. Simon nodded, and he seemed to have dug a lot of 20th Century Fox's walls, and now it's two more. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.